Hello and welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Explore our playlist for more captivating novels, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new audiobook. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 81, King Stream Teaching Profound Meaning Self-Brain Supplement. Axel looked at the closed door and was silent for a long time before he solemnly said, Mr. King, we hope to ask you how to become stronger, so that we can have stronger power to hunt weird people. Become stronger. King's mouth twitched. I want to become stronger too. Click. He opened the door and said, Come in and sit down. He was a guest from afar. Although he had nothing to teach Axel, it was possible to entertain him for a cup of tea. Excuse me. Axel walked into King's house with a sense of awe, and was immediately attracted by the cracked floor on the second floor. Tea or a drink? King asked Axel casually, but he didn't get a response. He turned around suspiciously and saw Axel staring at the cracked hole in the floor of his second floor in a daze, recalling his original embarrassment. Amused, don't look at it, I accidentally broke it some time ago. It broke by accident. Axel repeated his words in a low voice, and took a deep look at King. Yes, such a powerful man as King can move mountains and fill the sea with every move. If you don't pay attention on weekdays, the slightly leaked powerful power will be easy. Destroying furniture houses is really scary. Sit as you like. Oh, there is Coke in the refrigerator, tea in the cupboard, hot water in the water dispenser, and you can take whatever you want to drink. After a brief introduction, King sat down and picked up his game console controller again. By the way, are you playing games? Play games. Axel was taken aback for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, Mr. King, I am here on behalf of the Hunter Self-Defense Force to ask you to teach us how to practice. Stop. I don't have anything to teach you. If you want to become stronger, just work hard. Ask me. I'm just an otaku who loves to play games. How can I teach you how to become stronger? King waved his hand to interrupt Axel's words, and glanced at him sideways. If you want to learn to play games, I can teach you. Play games. Axel frowned and thought. This is the third time that King has said about playing games. A strong man like King will definitely not aimlessly speak. He emphasized playing games 3 times in a row. Well, did King test me by playing games? He stared at King with piercing eyes and chuckled in a low voice. Oh, in that case, then Mr. King, I would like to learn how to play games with you. Oh, take your gamepad. King glanced at the serious Axel in surprise. Playing a game for amusement, does it need to show such a solemn attitude? Actually, playing games is very simple. It's nothing more than up, down, left and right baba. Among them, up, down, left, and right are the most basic character movement operations. B is a kicker. Although Axel has never played Street King of Fighters, he has heard that the King of Fighters has enlarged moves, and he casually asked, I heard that the King of Fighters has big moves. A big move. King said lightly. Don't worry, you are the first to get started. The most important thing is to be proficient in basic character movements. As long as you memorize the combination of various basic movements, release the big move naturally. After all, the so-called the character's big moves are just derived from basic actions one by one. King is really teaching me to play games. Axel looked at the King who was seriously explaining the game operation, and his heart was full of confusion. I came to learn how to become stronger, not to learn to play games. Well, wait a minute, how can someone like King be free? Tell me about game skill so patiently. Think about it in another way. If I am a king and I am unwilling to teach others how to become stronger, I will definitely shut them out instead of wasting precious practice time talking about a bunch of useless game skills. Is wrong, is there a deeper meaning in King's words? It's just that I didn't realize it. So what does King mean? He was lost in thought, playing games, proficient in basic operations, and unleashing big moves when it came time. I understand. He moved in his heart. King's real intention was not to teach me how to play games at all, but to teach me the tricks of practice through teaching game skills. The so-called playing games is practice, and game skills are practice tricks. King said that he wants to play good games. First of all, you must be proficient in basic operations, which means to tell me that if you want to become stronger, the first condition is to exercise well and consolidate the foundation. This is the prerequisite for becoming stronger. Later, King said that as long as the foundation is firmly laid, the foundation becomes stronger, unleashing the big move, as a matter of course. No, the words of King should have a deeper meaning. There is no shortcut to cultivation, only persistence. Don't delusion to climb to the sky, being down to earth is the right way. Axel has a solemn face, savoring King's words carefully. King looked at Axel in a daze, speechless. Oh, don't think about it, it seems that you are not suitable for playing games. It can take a long time to learn the basic operation of the game. If you teach you the big trick to release the key sequence, you want to think about it for a day. King's sigh awakened Axel, who was thinking about the philosophy of life. He looked at the disappointed King, and his heart stunned. Is King so disappointed in me? So that even the said good teaching was cancelled. What did I do wrong? By the way, I was in a daze. Yes, when King was teaching, I was in a daze. King must use this to warn me that I can't be separated from my cultivation. www.mtlnovel.com. You must concentrate and persevere in order to reach the other side of the strong. He took a deep breath and respectfully worshipped the King. Mr. King, I understand. Please forgive me for being rude and continue to teach me the skills of playing games. King looked at Axel in amazement. For the first time in his life, he was a little touched. It is rare that there are people in this world who want to learn game skills so sincerely. Looking at Axel's sincere attitude, he reluctantly picked up the handle and taught. Playing games, skill is secondary, the key is to have eyesight in hand, pay attention to the opponent's movements at all times, and follow the opponent's movements quickly. Respond, either to fight back, avoid, or defend, and don't mess around. Axel thoughtfully, judging the situation. Acting by chance. King is right. The overall strength of their hunter self-defense forces is generally not strong. They can't deal with strangers in disorder. They should use correct methods to hunt strangers in an orderly and calm manner. Many people say that the characters of the King of Fighters are strong and weak. This is ridiculous. In fact, there is no absolutely weak character. Whether or not they can win depends on whether the player holding the handle can play. If the player operates properly, even if it is considered to be weak, characters can also torture and kill those who seem to be strong. Axel's pupils shrank. Command. Did King tell me that as the captain of the hunter self-defense force and the battle commander carry a heavy responsibility? Only if my command ability is strong, can I lead my teammates to victory. Yes, in a battle, the role of a commander is extremely important. If the command is done properly, the battle can get twice the result with half the effort, otherwise it will be twice the result with half the effort. In this case, I have a lot to learn. He took a sigh of relief with a solemn expression, and sighed, so I realized it again. Chapter 82. Snail Man and Chameleon Man. Boom. Just as King carefully told Axel some game skills, the walls of his house burst to the ground, and an unidentified creature that was round like a tire and looked like an eggshell broke in. Rumbling. The unidentified creature's rolling pace never stopped, and it rushed toward the King, and at the same time a dull voice floated from it. King, remember my name. I am a new type of human evolved from snails. My name is Snailbot. Even though I'm a snail, I think I'm slow. In fact, I used to deliver tofu to my dad. Over the course of a few years, I developed this racing technique. How many cars are you driving? With a black line on his forehead, King looked at the snail man rushing, and did not hesitate to use a 2-star monster card, glue monster that he had previously harvested in the monster prison riot. Ding! Congratulations on speed gaining 1263 experience points. Ding! The host has successfully comprehended the card character skills. Ding! Congratulations to the host for comprehending the strong adhesive. King ignored the new skills he had learned, and sprayed some milky white liquid directly at the snail man who was rolling over. The liquid, such as hair gel, was very viscous. Chi. King sprayed a relatively large amount. After a while, the snail man's volute was covered with milky white liquid super glue. The solidification time of these glues was very short. After a short time, the snail man's rolling body actually slowed down. Due to the strong glue, every short distance it rolls, it is always extremely difficult. Ah, you shameless guy, you shot some strange liquid on me, glue. My volute is about to roll. The strong glue sticks to the floor firmly, making the snail man almost unable to roll. After the glue is completely dried, the snail man is helplessly settled in place, and the 1-meter high volute stands on the King's house like a sculpture. In the living room. Is this glue? Axel watched the milky white liquid sprayed by King firmly stuck to the snail man. His eyes flickered. Superpowers. This is King's superpower. He actually sprayed from times, making a mosaic for Mao. The milky white glue controls the weirdo. The superpower is really weird. Ah, bastard, let go of me. I am a new type of human who has evolved perfectly. You bastard, do you know that I am the hope of mankind in the future? The snail man kept struggling, but the glue was too viscous. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't get rid of it. It was a waste of effort. A new type of human. So, if later archaeologists dig out you and me at the same time, they might think I am your ancestor. King tapped the hard volute of the snail man with his fingers, making a sonorous muffled sound. The hardness of the volute is probably comparable to steel. Asshole, you dare to insult me, you are dead, you are absolutely dead. The snail man yelled loudly. Axel couldn't help but said, Mr. King, why don't you just punch it to death? He didn't have any sympathy for the weirdo. Well, King glanced at Axel and didn't speak. He just consumed a 2-star monster card and didn't have the power to break the volute with a punch. If he was using a Tyrannosaurus card, he could try to blast the snail man with one punch. However, since it can be solved with 2-star cards, it is natural not to waste precious 3-star monster cards. King, you are dead. You are not only offended by me, but also by the thousands of brothers behind me. If you dare to touch my hair, they will definitely avenge me. The snail man shrank his body in the volute like a tortoise with his head shrunk. He just yelled inside, but couldn't come out. King looked at the snail man strangely. What is the reason to let it know that I am the strongest man on the surface, King, still daring to come and kill me, and still yelling arrogantly after being arrested? It seems that it has to be interrogated to clarify its support in case of accidents. He turned around to look for some special interrogation tools. However, the moment he turned around, a whistling sound of sharp blades pierced through the air flashed in his ears. Anyone else? King's heart squeezed. Panicked, he stepped back abruptly, and he scanned the surroundings vigilantly. His heart thumped, and the sudden heartbeat echoed in the narrow room. Who? He sighed with lingering fear, and he almost was recruited just now. With his current defense, if he is stabbed by a sharp blade, he is absolutely dead. Damn, this snail man used to be so arrogant to attract his attention, for the convenience of others. The assassin made an assassination. Huh. Are there any other enemies? Axel saw that the king reacted like this, and even the Imperial engine was activated, indicating that the king had entered a fighting state. It seems that King must have found other enemies. However, he glanced around and found nothing. Silhouette, can the enemy become invisible? The snail man harassed King endlessly. Ha, King, I said you are dead, you are absolutely dead. King ignored the noisy snail man and glanced around the room. The assassin could approach him unknowingly, either extremely fast or invisible. Judging from the moment, the opponent is obviously not a fast person, otherwise he just when retreating, the opponent can win the pursuit, but the opponent does not, so the opponent should be invisible. Invisible. His brows are slightly frowned, and he swears in his heart. What kind of ghost ability is there really an invisible person in the world? Fortunately, judging from the level of assassination just now, the strength of the invisible man should not be strong, just relying on the strange ability of stealth to assassinate the enemy. Although I can't see you, you are already under my control. King's mouth twitched slightly, and once again used the glue monster's powerful adhesive, spraying a large amount of milky white liquid from his XXX position, using himself as a dot, www.mtlnovel.com, to gradually expand outward, attempt to hit the invisible person with glue to knock the opponent out of the original shape. Is really invisible. Axel kicked back to prevent being shot by King's milky white liquid, and at the same time verified his guess from King's move. After a while, the room was filled with various white liquids, which dried quickly in the air. As King was struggling to spray glue, a slight tearing sound sounded. King's eyes lit up, staring at the remaining glue somewhere, and found you. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and a large amount of glue was sprayed toward the residual glue, and a burst of liquid spray disappeared, and glue covered a figure in front of him. The invisible man tried to escape, but unfortunately, his body was covered with glue, and the soles of his feet quickly stuck to the floor and couldn't break free, ending up like the snail man. Burst energy bomb. King was not interested in communicating too much with a guy who was hiding his head and showing his face. When he couldn't see his body, the ghost knew whether the other party had hidden any secret weapons. As a life-saving person, he decided to directly kill the other party. The invisible man yelled, "Hey, wait a minute, I evolved from a chameleon." Boom. An explosion sounded, and in an instant, the red and green and white unidentified liquid splashed in all directions. Ding! There are convertible cards nearby, please go to the host to convert. King raised his brows and stepped forward and touched the blood scum. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 2-star monster card Chameleon Man. It turned out to be a chameleon, but it changes color with the environment to hide its body, not the transparent person I think. King was slightly disappointed. Chapter 83. Evolution House. Killed. Axel's pupils shrank, looking at the pile of blood scum, and fell into deep thought. He was not surprised that King killed the weird person. What was unexpected was the way King killed the weird person, using superpowers, glue to gradually eat away at the opponents. The range of movement caused the weirdo to show its feet and eventually be killed. This kind of grind killing method is normal on others, but it is very strange on King. Who is King? Known as the strongest man on the surface, killing monsters is usually solved with one punch. When have you used such tactics? Could it be that King's move contains deep meaning? The snail man seemed to realize that the chameleon man had an accident, and hurriedly shouted, "Chameleon, chameleon." King curled his lips, "Don't shout, it's dead." The yelling voice of the snail man stopped abruptly, as if someone had caught his neck. After it was silent for a while, it shouted louder, "King, you have been targeted by our powerful House of Evolution. Although you have defeated the two of us, we are not ranked among the new humans in the House of Evolution. Our House of Evolution is strong like a cloud. Even if it is as strong as you, he will die in our hands." The snail man's tone was full of confidence. The House of Evolution. King has a weird face, and the organization behind the snail man is actually an evolutionary home that has appeared in anime. Speaking of the House of Evolution, it is also a more eye-catching villain organization in One Punch Man. The founder of the House of Evolution in Z City is Kenos. This is a crazy and genius scientist. He grew up because of his super high wisdom, dislikes others, thinks that others are all idiots and incompetents, and feels extremely painful for living in a world surrounded by idiots, and then gave birth to the idea of promoting human evolution with one's own power, and devoted himself to scientific research. Painstakingly lonely he has studied the related projects of human evolution. Over the past few decades, he has researched many cutting-edge biological, scientific and technological achievements, and even used artificial technology to help the 70-year-old regain his old age and rejuvenate. When he became young, he used cloning technology to replicate many a clone of yourself, just in case. In the anime, Kenos's human evolution experiment has many experimental products, such as powerful weirdos such as the Asura unicorn who has cultivated the dragon-level weirdo disaster, the mosquito who has the ghost-level weirdo disaster. Kenos worked hard to study biotechnology, and hoped that one day he could break the ultimate limiter of mankind and use his own power to leverage the opportunity of human evolution. Unfortunately, he met his fateful enemy Saitama. After witnessing Saitama's powerful power, he hoped to use Saitama as a sample to study, and immediately dispatched his own elite troops to capture Saitama. However, he did not capture Saitama, but was instead Saitama. In one fell swoop, he wiped out the elite troops he planned to use to counterattack mankind. Afterwards, frustrated, he gave up his dream and opened a takoyaki shop in the busy city to live honestly. King touched his chin and thought to himself. After seeing the power of Saitama, Kenos, a bioscience researcher, couldn't wait to grab Saitama as an experimental sample. So this time he sent someone to assassinate himself. I'm afraid he was spying on me. The body of the strongest man on the surface, this sentence is so awkward to say, intends to invite me back to the House of Evolution as an experimental sample. I actually ended up with Saitama, what a sin. Oh, I have been targeted by the House of Evolution, trouble. He frowned slightly with a headache. The strength of the House of Evolution is not weak. Asura unicorn with a dragon-level disaster, and several ghost-level disaster weirdos, once Kenos is determined to tie himself back to evolution. I'm doing experiments, I'm afraid I can't resist it. It seems that the trip to Z City is imminent, so I have to find a way to fool Saitama to destroy the House of Evolution and eliminate the huge hidden dangers that threaten my life. After he smoothed things out, he thought of Dr. Hammond, who brought the dinosaur man to the world. Hammond and Kenos are also mad scientists with firm dreams, and they have also made major breakthroughs in biotechnology. The emergence of powerful weirdos seriously threatens world peace. Well, speaking of mad scientists, in the anime, there is another scientist who is particularly brilliant, Fokker. This guy did not make a bunch of weird people like Hammond and Kenos, but developed an ultimate steroid. The preparation was given to his brother Margali, and Margali mutated into a titan-like giant, destroying City D as soon as he shot it, and the disaster was terrifying. Almost forgot the giant brother. Well, remind Sichi to check the research institute on the outskirts of D City to see if Fokker can be found, try to prevent a catastrophe, and let him investigate by the way. The location of the House of Evolution. King thought about it, and immediately took out his cell phone and called the association headquarters. Axel, who looked down next to him without hesitation, told Sichi his request directly, and briefly talked about it. He was rejecting Siki's proposed advertisement. After the invitation, I hung up the phone. King, don't be arrogant when you think that you are the strongest man on the surface. Our House of Evolution is not an easy place to provoke. If you offend us, we will kill you sooner or later. The snail man yelled to himself. You reading www.uakanshu.com. King clicked slightly. The snail man was really a stupor. The situation is that it has fallen into his hands and has become the meat on the chopping board. Let him slaughter it, but the snail man has no sense of consciousness and is still arrogantly clamoring. I don't know how to write the word, dead. Seeing that the snail man is so arrogant, Axel couldn't help but ask King, Mr. King, please allow me to kill this weird person. You. King glanced at Axel, and said noncommittal, please. Anyway, no matter who the weirdo was killed by him, he would not prevent him from drawing the card. Thank you King for the first generation. Axel lifted his spirits, taking advantage of the glue on the floor that had dried out and had no stickiness. He quickly approached the snail man, walked around the volute about 1 meter high, and didn't know where to start for a while. The volute is as hard as steel, where can he break it with bare hands? He frowned, his eyes scanned in King's home, hoping to find a usable tool. Haha, boy, in a big tone, you are a weak human being with me to kill my snail master. Humph, your bread fist can break my copper wall and iron wall and count me as a loser. The snail man laughed loudly when he heard Axel ranting to kill himself. King looked at Axel's tangled face and shook his head speechlessly. He took out a water pipe from his home, connected one end to the boiling faucet of the drinking fountain, and inserted the other end into the entrance of the volute, and then immediately turned on the boiling faucet of the drinking fountain. Ziz. The boiling water poured down the water pipe into the volute under Axel's dull eyes. Ah. Ding. There are convertible monster cards nearby. Please go to the host to convert. Chapter 84. It seems to be moving. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 2-star monster card Snail Man. King calmly drew out the weird card. The 2-star weird card is already a horrible thing in his card shelf. There is no more than one card, and a lot less, not to mention the snail man himself did not show it. Special ability. Although the volute is hard, it is not very useful, but the invisibility of the chameleon is a bit interesting. He clicked on the card storage rack and opened the chameleon man's weird card. Chameleon. Background. Mutants evolved from the combination of chameleon genes and human genes. Skill. Stealth. Passive. The body color changes with the color of the environment, and the skin color is always consistent with the environment. After reading the introduction of the chameleon man, King's eyes lit up, and a wretched thought emerged immediately in his mind. Sneak attack on the weird note the lonely life. I have to say that invisibility is one of the most desired super abilities of human beings. With invisibility, you can do many things that you don't dare to do, such as peeping. King was thinking over there, and Axel was thinking about it too. His face was solemn, and he stared at the dead snail man and chameleon man. It was abnormal, too abnormal. King killing was not a punch, but accidentally used tactics. This ink killing method is definitely not King's style. Abnormal, too abnormal. What King did in this way must have a deeper meaning in it. What is it? He contemplated hard. When the weird attacked, He first used glue to control the snail man, and then used the glue to force the chameleon man to expose his horse's feet and bind it, step by step to push the enemy to the edge of death. This monster-killing tactic is domineering. The contrast on the king is too great. If it is placed on a weak hero, it is normal. Wait a minute, weak. Tactics. He has bright eyes. Tactics, yes, tactics. To King, the snail man and the chameleon are exactly like ants, but King patiently dealt with the two weird people. Why? He didn't understand at first, but now he realized that King didn't put the snail man and the chameleon man in his eyes from beginning to end. Got to kneel. Yes, as long as the tactics are used properly, even if the strength of the self-defense forces is weak, it is not a dream to kill ghost-level monsters or even dragon-level monsters as long as they work hard, supplemented by correct tactics. Hey, don't be in a daze. King woke up the pensive Axel and issued a deportation order. You have also seen this situation. I have a lot of things to deal with. I don't have time to entertain you. Go back. I can't play games anymore. I have 2 big holes in my wall, and my house is messy. In this situation, how can I still play games safely? He looked at the dilapidated home and wondered whether he should move. The floor on the 2nd floor was broken, but that's not a problem. At most, he won't go up to the 2nd floor. But now it's even the walls that shelter the wind and rain. 2 big holes were broken, and this house could no longer live. Let's move to Z City to be a neighbor with Saitama. Send off guests. Axel frowned and asked for advice on how to become stronger. However, King never gave any practical guidance. However, he knew that King had just taught him a lot of things. As to how much he could comprehend, it depends on your own comprehension. Thank you, Mr. King, for his teaching. Although King never admitted that he was teaching himself from the beginning to the end, he remembered this kindness in his heart, so he solemnly bowed to King. King looked at Axel, who gave such a big gift. His face was stunned. Isn't he just teaching you to play a game? Isn't it a terrific technology, so serious? Look at this appearance to respect me as a teacher. He coughed lightly and said, ahem, one little thing, don't take it to heart. It seems that he just taught him the basic game operations that almost everyone understands, but he actually treats me as a teacher. Alas, this kid is too honest, I want to bully him. For Mr. King, this may be a small thing, but for me, it is a big thing. Mr. King's kindness to the Hunter Self-Defense Force will be unforgettable for us. It may be difficult to repay Mr. King's kindness in this life. Now, in the next life our Hunter Self-Defense Force is willing to be a cow and a horse for Mr. King. Axel looked serious. King's mouth twitched, and he glanced at Axel solemnly. Brother, are you serious? My goodness, just teach you to play a game, the kindness is great. Will you be a cow and a horse in your next life to repay your kindness? He wanted to reach out and touch Axel's forehead to see if he had a fever. It is estimated that he has burnt his brain to speak such inexplicable words. Well, this kind of kindness is guilty, so don't take advantage of this fool. King thought silently, sending Axel away. I have no kindness to you, and I don't need you to repay. You go back, don't hinder me from doing things. Suddenly, the weird siren in the center of M went off. Emergency notification, emergency notification. An unknown strange bird appeared above M City. The disaster level is ghost level. Please try not to go out and hide in the building. Broadcast again. Urgent notice, www.mtlnovel.com. An unknown strange bird appeared in the sky above M City. The disaster level is ghost level. Please try not to go out and hide in the building. Is there another weirdo? Or a ghost level weirdo? King was stunned. Recently, weird people have appeared frequently in M City, and there have been one after another of ghost level and above disaster level weird people, which caused panic and restlessness in M City. Ghost level disaster weirdo. Axel was also taken aback, turned to look at the indifferent King, frowning. Mr. King, don't you want to take a look? It can't be said that you can get the credit for killing the ghost level weirdo. Quote. Nothing to look good. King couldn't deny Axel's words. If you want to get the credit for killing the ghost level weirdo, you don't have to go to the weirdo to perform justice yourself. This kind of credit has always been lost from the sky. If you come down to yourself, where do you need to work hard to fight the weird people? Jew. King's voice just fell. A sharp bird song suddenly sounded in the sky, and immediately a huge figure rushed toward King's home. Boom. The strange bird passed by, and King's house was in ruins in an instant. Now there is no need to struggle with King, as expected, he still needs to move. King, you killed many of my brothers and sisters. My function pterosaur will never spare you. Destroying your house this time is just a small lesson. Sooner or later, I will take your life. It turns out that the strange bird is not someone else, but the missing function pterosaur. However, the function pterosaur was screaming fiercely, but after launching an assault and destroying the king's house, there was not a trace of staying. With a flap of wings, it quickly disappeared into the sky like a ruined soldier who had fled. This kid. I'm afraid that King will react and kill him and stew the chicken soup. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel Chapter 85, Maigret. A research institute on the outskirts of Z City. Doctor, the snail man and the chameleon man have been confirmed dead, and our target King is unscathed. The Keno's clone with number 28 on his chest made a blank report about the snail man and the chameleon. Something unexpected. Keno's was slightly disappointed. Although he should have known that the snail man and the chameleon were unlikely to cause damage to King, he still hoped that they could rely on the chameleon man's stealth ability to obtain King's blood as his genetic research sample. It's a pity that King is King. Even if the chameleon man's abilities are weird, he still can't hurt King. I must get King's genes, call our partner and ask him to get King's blood sample. Understood. Somewhere in the world. King's blood sample. Oh, we are going to kill King anyway. I helped take the blood sample or something by the way. Sir, I understand. I immediately notify the Fafa killer group. Well, I hope this hair killer group will not disappoint our trust. The next day. City A. Heroes Association Headquarters Combat Room. Jace held a document in his hand, and solemnly reported, Report Minister, Lord Shibabawa sent us a prophetic fax. What? Lord Shibabawa's prophecy? Ziki was shocked, and hurriedly said, Tell me the content of the prophecy. Shibabawa is a great prophet who has accurately predicted various upcoming disasters, such as earthquakes and weird invasions. He is a special hero hired by the Heroes Association. Since Shibabawa's predictions have never been missed, and each time the predictions are all disasters, it can be said that once Shibabawa's predictions come out, there must be no good. However, Shibabawa's predictions can allow the association to understand the upcoming disasters. Prepare to resist in advance. Therefore, Siki's prediction of Shibabawa is both hate and value. Jace nodded, handed the document to Sik, and said solemnly, Master Shibabawa's prophecy says that within this month, City B and City D will be destroyed by strangers. What? Siki's eyes widened. Will cities B and D be destroyed by weirdos? Isn't the weird person who can destroy the two cities a dragon-level disaster weird person? Hiss. He was very scared to think about it. City L and City M had just experienced the ravages of dragon-class monsters. Fortunately, Hammond's goal was King. He was just a casual destruction of City L and City M while on the road. The city caused too much damage, but the prediction given by Shibabawa this time turned out to be the destruction of City B and City D. According to the association's definition of disaster levels, this time the weird is a dragon-level weird. However, what made him helpless was that Shibabawa's prediction did not give the exact time of the disaster. That is to say, within a month, the time of the disaster may be today or tomorrow. In short, from now on, the weird disaster that caused the destruction of City B and City D may happen at any time. Siki was tight, knowing that time was tight, and immediately ordered, Jace, immediately notify the government to evacuate the citizens of City B and City D. Clear. Jace knows the seriousness of the matter. This kind of disaster that destroys the two cities at every turn is too horrible, and we must prepare for it in advance, otherwise, when the disaster strikes, we will be in a hurry. Sik asked Collison again, Collison, check out the heroes that are active in City B and City D, and let them find the source of the weirdo. I told him that there are hidden dangers in the suburbs of D and Z. Could the danger mentioned by King have something to do with this catastrophe? He thought about it for a moment, and said, focus on finding the outskirts of City D, and let people investigate the situation in the outskirts of City Z by the way. Collison nodded and turned to contact the heroes of City B and City D. After Ziki gave his instructions, he rubbed his temples worriedly, and whispered to himself, I hope the loss can be minimized, otherwise the people should denounce the association again. Thinking of the fact that after cities B and D were destroyed by weird people, the people complained like snowflakes. He suddenly had a headache. This job was really difficult. Welcome to the beautiful Y City. Inside the Y City train station, King came by appointment. He was wearing a black cap, wearing his regular white sweater, carrying a black backpack, and putting his hands in his pockets, waiting for Tong Di to come and pick him up. I don't know if Sick takes my words as the same thing. There are huge threats hidden in the suburbs of D and Z. King thought boredly about yesterday's situation. The function pterosaur completely destroyed his house, and then fled and disappeared. However, the appearance of the House of Evolution and the wind god pterosaur reminded him that there is not only a mad scientist in this world, Hammond. In his memory, there is a genius madman hidden in the suburbs of City D and City Z. There the scientific research results will cause serious harm to their respective cities in the near future. Therefore, he has a sense of responsibility that a hero by luck is also a hero to inform Ziki that there are dangers hidden in the suburbs of City D and City Z. www.mtlnovel.com, let CIC send the hero to investigate. However, he didn't know if Ziki took his words to heart. After all, he couldn't explain why he knew that there was danger in the suburbs of City D and City Z. Hello, is it Mr. King? When he was in a daze, a specially low-voiced word came into his ears. He raised his head questioningly. He saw a middle-aged man with a round face, a fat body, wearing a shit-yellow windbreaker and a shit-yellow felt hat. When I approached myself, his eyes were searching. King asked suspiciously, "Are you?" The blessed middle-aged man stretched out his hand and smiled. "Mr. King, I'm the Y City Sheriff Maigret. I'm the Y City Sheriff Maigret. And I was asked by Emperor Tong to pick you up to the Primary Student Institute." Sheriff Maigret. King looked at Maigret in surprise. How could Tong Di have such a deep relationship with the police? You know, since the establishment of the association and the police have looked at each other and disliked each other. The association hated the police for getting in the way, and the police resented the association for being nosy and stealing their jobs. Therefore, the two sides got into trouble with each other, and eventually the relationship became stiff. I didn't expect that Tong Di would actually commit a crime against the wind. He was a hero of the association, but he was in contact with the police. If Ziki knew about it, he would have a wonderful look. Maigret smiled and said, "Mr. King is weird about my relationship with Tong Di." "A little bit." King shook his head. "However, I don't care about things that matter to me. Generally, I just ask how your relationship has nothing to do with me. I was only invited to come and help Tong Di complete the experiment and I will leave. Lead the way. Mr. King speaks quickly, please." Maigret led King into an ordinary car, and immediately started the engine and set off. Chapter 86. Tong Di's Thoughts. "Mr. King, Emperor Tong is now attending a banquet of an important person and can't spare time to pick you up. He asked me to apologize to you on his behalf." In the car, Maigret explained why he came to greet him, not why Tong Di came in person. "It doesn't matter, as long as you can get me to the destination, it's the same for anyone." King didn't care, he just came to assist Tong Di to carry out an experimental study, and then withdrew after finishing it. He even bought the train ticket to Z City in the afternoon. "Thank you Mr. King for your understanding." Maigret shut up after thanking him. After all, there is a gap between the police and the hero. King, a sociable otaku, was also silent, quietly looking at the scenery passing by the window. For a while, the car was silent, until a jingle of the telephone rang, which broke the embarrassing atmosphere. "Hey, Tong Di. I have received Mr. King, and I am going to the Primary Student Institute." "What? Mr. Robert was killed. Okay, I see, I'll rush over right away." After Maigret hung up, he turned the front of the car dignifiedly. "Mr. King, a tricky thing has happened to Tong Di, and we need to rush to help solve it as soon as possible." Casual. Anyway, Tong Di is not in the research institute. Even if he goes to the research institute, it doesn't make any sense. It's not like going to Tong Di to solve the trouble and then return to the research institute to complete the experiment together. From what Maigret said just now, it can be seen that Tong Di probably suffered a murder, and Maigret, the sheriff, needs to assist in the investigation. The hero and the police cooperate with the investigation. It's fun. Who? Migrat's speed almost increased to the top, and he was racing on the road like a car, even running through several red lights in a row, almost causing a car accident. King looked at Maigret with a dignified face in surprise. Robert is a very important person. It can make a policeman who would rather break the law and rush to the scene of the crime as soon as possible. It is conceivable that it is not easy to be killed. Maigret glanced at King's mirror image in the rearview mirror, and slowly said, Robert is the top richest man in City Y. He is also the world's toy tycoon, and he is also the largest investor in Tongdi's a primary student, research institute. Turned out to be the gold master behind Tongdi. King thoughtfully, among the many S-rank heroes, Tongdi is very special. He is too young. Unlike the pseudo-loli-like Tornado, Tongdi is a real little Zhengtai, and his personal strength may be S. One of the weakest heroes of the S-class, but ranks higher than most S-class heroes, making it into the top 5. Tongdi's position in the association is a think tank, relying on intelligence rather than science and technology. Although he is also engaged in scientific and technological research, but when the association has scientific and technological needs, he usually only finds metal knights. There is basically nothing to do with Tongdi. Naturally, the association's scientific research funding support to Tongdi is less. It's just that scientific research burns a lot of money, and the money from the association is not enough for the emperor to spend. Under this situation, the scientific and technological achievements invented and created by the Emperor Tong are very stingy, like a child's toy, without the brilliance of the Metal Knight's easy experimental rocket launcher. Toy. His heart moved. It seems that the toy tycoon Robert is interested in Tongdi's scientific research and development ability, and Tongdi is interested in Robert's financial resources. However, now that Robert is dead, Tongdi is very depressed, right? He chuckled inwardly. Under Migrat's ultra-fast speed, within 10 minutes, they immediately arrived at the place where Robert had a banquet. This is a toy castle built with a steel armor warrior as a template, and the shape is half a steel armor warrior. Show your own uniqueness. Beep 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 beep. A few police cars were parked at the entrance of Robert's mansion. It was obvious that other police had arrived earlier. Sergeant Merrig. When Merrig appeared, the police officer guarding the door immediately stepped forward to salute. Merrig frowned and said, "What's the situation?" Robert is a celebrity in City Y. Once the murder is spread, it will definitely cause an uproar in the society, and the police department will also bear huge pressure. Report to Sheriff Merrig that the scene has been blocked and all the guests present at the banquet are under control. We are taking confessions one by one, and at the same time, we are taking pictures of the murder scene to collect evidence. The police officer talked about a lot of basic tasks. After listening to Merrig, he nodded slightly. Very well, I'll go in and take a look. After speaking, he took King into Robert's home. At this moment, the dozens of guests who participated in Robert's private banquet in Robert's home, the servants gathered in the living room, and some police officers interrogated them about the murder. After King followed Merrig into the living room, he glanced at the restless suspects, with his gaze hidden under the peaked cap, and immediately found sitting on the sofa with a lollipop in his mouth and a small school bag on his back, as if Tongdi who was doing his homework, but he clearly saw Tongdi's little ears stand up to listen to the confession of the suspects, and the pen in his hand has not fallen for a long time. It is false to want to come to do his homework, but it is eavesdropping on the confession of others. Real. Sergeant Merrig. Merrig became the person in charge of the murder case as soon as he arrived, and all the police officers came to him to inquire about the next course of action. King was not interested in listening to the trivial matters of the police, turned around and prepared to find a quiet place to stay, and waited until the matter was resolved before leaving with Tongdi. www.mtlnovel.com, long time no see. Quote. Tongdi found King and found the homework in his hand. He walked to King and licked the lollipop in his hand. His small eyes were sparkling and he looked at King with piercing eyes. Well, I haven't seen each other for a while. King nodded calmly. Tongdi leaned over to King and sat down and whispered, King, Mr. Robert used to help me a lot, and now he is tragically dying. I can't sit idly by. The person who killed him must be hidden in the crowd. Who do you say is the murderer? King said lightly, I don't know. He leaned back, looking lazily, without any thought of participating in solving the case. Tong Di glanced at King and said in a low voice, Mr. Robert is not a simple rich man. He is also one of the directors of the association. The death of Mr. Robert is likely to have a certain impact on the funds of the association. King, you as an S-rank hero of the association, don't you want to share some difficulties for the association? Or does Uncle King know nothing about the reasoning of the case? Well, Uncle King, in terms of strength, I must have lost to you, but as an S-rank hero, I also have my own strengths. In terms of intelligence, I am outstanding among many S-rank heroes, especially in case reasoning. Looking at the whole world, I am also a top reasoning expert. King looked sideways at the smiling Tong Di, and shook his head, not interested. Well, that's okay, I'm going to find out the situation first. King, you will wait for us for a while, and when I solve the case, I will go back to the research institute. Tong Di was a little disappointed, and would like to compare his case reasoning ability with Uncle King. I didn't expect to fail. Chapter 87. Dog Bites Dog. Tong Di slid around in the crowd, and soon returned to King, holding his small chin, muttering thoughtfully, Mr. Robert has no obvious scars all over his body, only one on his palm. A small, black wound with a purple complexion. The cause of death is suspected to be poisoning. The specific situation depends on the police's post-mortem examination. King glanced at Tong Di with his two small eyebrows, then looked at Robert who was morgue in the living room, covered with white cloth, and the restless guests. He shook his head secretly. He didn't understand reasoning and solving crimes. He probably helped. Not busy anymore. Thinking like this, he immediately closed his eyes and calmed down, regardless of these annoying things. Tong Di took a peek at King who was out of the way, curled his lips, and said to himself, before Mr. Robert died, 5 people had left the living room. They were his wife Ai Lu, driver Luya, partner Cindy, and company subordinates. Of all the people present, Greer and me, these 5 are the most suspected of poisoning. Of course, before the case is solved, others are also likely to be murderers. You are suspicious too. King opened his eyes in surprise and looked at the serious child emperor. The great detective Schwarzkissold once said that before the truth is revealed, everyone is suspected of committing a crime. Tong Di nodded naturally. King raised his brows and thought to himself, which detective is Schwarzkissold? Why has he never heard of it? Tong Di continued his nagging. Alu is a virtuous wife, gentle and virtuous, and doesn't like to show her face. Well, it's the wife of Robert's ex-wife who died after her death. She has been silently supporting Robert for many years. The driver Luya has already taken the job. For more than 8 years, Robert has trusted him. Cindy is one of the major shareholders of Mr. Robert's company. The two of them used to start a business together and have worked together for more than 30 years to build today's toy giant. The relationship is extraordinary. Greer is Mr. Robert's secretary. The position of the secretary with access to commercial secrets is usually held by a trusted person. Finally, I am Mr. Robert's special technology consultant, mainly helping Mr. Robert's company overcome scientific and technological problems. King took a faint glance at the eloquent Tong Di, and continued to close his eyes to rest his mind. He didn't have so much leisure to solve the case. Lazy uncle. Tong Di looked at King who didn't care about the murder, and he couldn't help but complain. That was one of the directors of the association. As an S-rank hero, don't you have the consciousness of sharing the difficulties for the association? May Gray walked over with a solemn expression. Tong Di, have you found any valuable clues? Tong Di shook his head. Not for the time being. Maybe you can start with the cause of Mr. Robert's death. The cause of Mr. Robert's death. May Gray nodded. I understand. I will tell them to do an autopsy soon, and find out the cause of Mr. Robert's death as soon as possible. Miss Elu, where were you during the time when Mr. Robert died? After removing the suspicion of the guests who had stayed in the living room and had no motive and time to kill, the police officer in charge of the questioning turned his attention to Robert's wife, Ai Lu. Elle is a noble lady, beautifully dressed. She is still charming when she is nearly 40 years old. Her every move is full of grace. Her frown and smile are more charming, but now because of Robert's death, there is a touch of sorrow hidden in the delicate willow brows. There is quite a sense of sight that I feel pity for. She thought a little, and then said softly, I was in my bedroom at the time. Police officer asked again, I wonder if Miss Ai Lu has a witness. Ai Lu's eyes flickered, and he hesitated, and finally pointed to the old driver Luya, because I want Luya to help me buy some cosmetics, so I asked him to come to my bedroom and specifically instruct him which brands to buy cosmetics. Bah, buy cosmetics. You bitch, let Luana adulterer give you cosmetics, right? At this time, an anger sounded. Everyone's eyes quickly turned to the person who spoke. It was Robert's only son, Dasta. Dasta had been kneeling in front of Robert's corpse before, and his face was full of grief and ignored anyone. At this moment, he scolded his stepmother. Dasta was full of anger and pointed at Elu and cursed, "You two adulterers asterisk, don't think that the nasty things you do can be hidden from the sky. In fact, my dad has already discovered your adultery. I was preparing to divorce you, a bitch. You must be unwilling to leave and not get half of my family's wealth. So when my dad didn't divorce you, he killed my dad and took the opportunity to share it. My family property." Wow. The news is so hot that Robert, the world toy tycoon, actually wore a green hat before he died, and Robert finally discovered the adultery between his wife and the driver, and he was ready to take care of the two, but he hadn't done it yet. In this way, Elu and Luya have the motive to kill. The police and the guests looked suspiciously at the pretty and angry Elu and the panicked Luya, guessing in their hearts whether Elu and Luya were really the murderers of Robert. The police officer said solemnly, "Miss Elu, www.mtlnovel.com, when Mr. Robert died, besides Mr. Luya, did anyone see you in the bedroom?" Ailu said angrily, "Only Luya and I, no one else, Mr. Police, I really didn't kill my husband, and Luya and I have never had an unusual relationship." Luya quickly echoed, "Yeah, I just often help Miss Ailu buy cosmetics. The relationship between the two of us is innocent, and there is absolutely no such sordid thing that Master Dasta said." Humph. Dasta snorted and did not continue to speak. In order to divert the attention of others, Luya pointed to Greer suddenly and said, "I think it must be Greer who killed the boss. The boss trusted him very much when he was alive. The boss was furious when he found out about the black money, and he was already planning to call the police to arrest him. He must have been afraid of going to jail after he discovered something was wrong, so he killed the boss." Wow. Everyone looked at Luya and Greer and was stunned. The inside information became more and more explosive. If a reporter were present, it would be laughed to death. These two pieces of news are definitely worth hundreds of thousands. You are spitting blood. Greer was furious and pointed at Luya and shouted, "Your adulterer is talking nonsense with his conscience in order to remove his suspicion. Everyone in the company knows that the boss has a great kindness to me, and I have always been to the boss too. Being loyal, how could you kill the boss?" Luya sneered and said, "Have you ever done it? You know it in your heart, and your boss knows it too." Now, everyone stared at Greer with questioning eyes. Whether he killed Robert or not, if he sold company trade secrets as true, he would definitely have to go to jail. Chapter 88. The Savior of the Police. When Greer and Luya were arguing, Elu suddenly looked at Cindy, who was watching coldly, and said, "Mr. Cindy is here to sell the company's shares, right?" Sell the shares. Everyone burst into their hearts and looked at the shocked Cindy in surprise. Selling shares meant abandoning the stock company where they belonged. Robert, a entrepreneur and important partner, abandoned him. The scene was silent for an instant, and the air was full of embarrassment. Everyone looked weird. Today's scene was a bit hot. Robert died. After that, it was revealed that his wife cheated, the driver stole people, his subordinates betrayed, and his friends abandoned them. They couldn't help sighing. If Robert heard the news, I am afraid they will be resurrected angrily and strangle them to death. However, their thoughts just came up, and a heavy gasp sounded abruptly. Hoo-hoo. The breathing became heavier, and everyone's eyes were cast on Robert's corpse. The white cloth covering Robert's face was falling and falling with the rhythm of breathing. Staring at the undulating white cloth, everyone seemed to feel the heavy breathing spraying on themselves. The face makes people shudder. Robert is resurrected. Everyone turned pale, stepped back subconsciously, staring at Robert's body with wide-eyed eyes, leaning slightly, ready to escape at any time. Is this madness? King looked at Robert, who was breathing in surprise. Tongdi smiled with joy. Maybe Mr. Robert did not die, but temporarily fell into a state of suspended animation. The great medical scientist Schwarzschild once said, "Some people are dead, but he is still alive." The state is called suspended animation. King raised his brows. Isn't Schwarzkisad a great detective? How come he became a medical scientist? Tongdi pretended not to hear King's question, and said solemnly with his small face, persons who suspended their lives actually didn't really die. As soon as the time comes, they will come back to life. King curled his lips. Of course he knew the state of suspended animation when he came from modern times, and even many rumored corpses were caused by fake death. Not only did Tongdi think of suspended animation, but Maigret also had a flash of inspiration, and said loudly, "Don't be afraid, maybe Mr. Robert is still alive. It was just suspended animation just now." Husband. As soon as Maigret's voice fell, Elu twisted her waist immediately, rushed over, and sobbed. "You're not dead, great, great." Roar. Abruptly, a hoarse roar came from under the white cloth, and then a pair of withered palms quickly protruded, grabbing Ailu's long and white neck. Ailu was suddenly attacked, her breathing was suffocated, her pretty face flushed, her fragrant tongue couldn't help but her tears burst out, pear blossoms with rain, her hand slapped Robert's strong palm hard, screaming, "Help! Help!" This sudden accident caused everyone to be taken aback, and there was no reaction. "Mr. Robert, stop." Tongdi and Maigret were equally surprised. Seeing that Elu was about to be killed by Robert, they shouted quickly. "Boss, let go, madam." Luya was shocked and rushed to break Robert's palm, which one he just approached. Robert's palm suddenly let go of Elu, and instead grabbed Luya's ankle fiercely, even holding his fingers like chicken feet. Deeply inserted into Luya's ankle, the blood puffed and ran. "What?" Luya let out a painful cry, and his body subconsciously struggling to retreat. The powerful force pulled up Robert, who was lying flat, and the white cloth covering the dead suddenly slid down, revealing Robert's appearance at the moment: white eyes and no pupils, pale face and crooked mouth grin. Hiss. His horrible appearance makes his back feel chilly and cold. Dasta yelled in horror, "Zombie, zombie, my dad has become a zombie weirdo." Weirdo. Tongdi's eyes widened. It is the duty of the hero to eliminate the weird person, but the weird person in front of him is an important director of the association. What? When Tongdi hesitated, Robert inserted the palm of Luya's ankle and pulled it fiercely. Luya screamed in pain and fell to the ground. Robert was forcibly pulled in front of him. Robert opened his mouth and immediately aimed at the road. Ya's calf was bitten down hard, tearing the strong human flesh, and after a while, his mouth was stuffed with meat, and the scene was terrifying. Bang bang. Merrick immediately drew his gun and shot, but what made people trembling was that a bullet hit Robert's body without any effect. Robert seemed to have no pain at all, and turned into a monster that specializes in eating people. Luya yelled in horror. "Help me, help me." Explosive energy bomb. At this moment, a blue energy projectile came and hit Robert in an instant. With a muffled sound, Robert's head shattered in an instant, and his hideous body immediately stopped moving. After a stalemate, it softened. Fell to the ground. Ding! There are convertible cards nearby, please go to the host to convert. The system's cold reminder sounds. King breathed a sigh of relief, this guy's weakness really is his head. Ah. Oh. Robert's head exploded, his brain and blood mixed and splashed and stuck to many people. With Luya's bitten calf, the scene was terrifying for a time. Luya's screams were mixed with the guests' vomiting. More gloomy. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 2-star monster card mutant zombie. UU reading www.uakanshu.com. After King stepped forward and touched Robert's wreckage, he raised his brows and unexpectedly glanced at the dastardly. It turned out that Robert mutated into a zombie just as Dasta said. Past movie experience told him that the basic reason for mutating into a zombie is usually a virus infection. He then thought that Tongdi said that when Robert died, there was a slight black wound in his palm. Well, it is estimated that he was really infected with the virus before he mutated into a zombie. So, who infected Robert with the virus? He glanced at Dastar with a meaningful look, and then clicked on Robert's weird card. Mutated zombie. Background. Due to his wife cheating, the driver stealing people, the secretarial betrayal, the abandonment of friends and the murder of his son, the accumulation of heinous resentment, coupled with the infection of the zombie virus, has evolved into a mutant zombie. Skills. None. Son murdered. The corner of King's mouth is tickled, and he already knows who the murderer is. I already know who the murderer is. At this time, a clear sound suddenly rose in the living room, and then a shadow gradually stretched on the wall. This shadow, is it? Yes, Moore must be here. Moore. Is that the savior of the police and the famous detective of the peace era? The guests stared at the shadows on the wall with wide eyes, and at the same time a look of trust appeared on their faces. Now that Moore has arrived, the murderer will soon be brought to justice. The corner of King's mouth twitched. The special detective Moore is clearly the ghost of Tongdi's little boy. You can just project when you say projection. After all, I'm not the kind of bad uncle who interrupts other people's pretense. But can you put down your school bag? When I am blind. Chapter 89. You made a mistake. Moore, a well-known detective in Y City, appeared 3 years ago. Whenever there is a murder in Y City, Moore can always appear on the scene in time and rely on his super strong reasoning ability and observational insight. In the homicide investigation, in 3 years, more than 200 large and small cases were solved, and many homicide cases that caused the police headache were solved, so he was hailed as the police savior. However, when Moore appeared, he always showed his face in a shadow and never revealed his true face. People believed that Moore was trying to avoid criminal retaliation, so he concealed his appearance, and every time he cracked a case, he would tell his reasoning in the form of a shadow, to bring criminals to justice. Because of his peculiar behavior, he is also called the Shadow of Truth. Now that Moore appeared, everyone suddenly calmed down from panic. They subconsciously thought that with Moore, the murder case could be detected by turning over and the murderer would definitely be caught. The savior of the police. King thoughtfully, this is why Tongdi and the police are familiar with each other. Dasta's face changed slightly. After thinking about it, he calmly said, compared with the murderer, I think the most important thing is to deal with the zombie virus. After all, none of us knows whether the zombie virus can be transmitted. If the zombie virus will, if it is contagious, then its harm can be terrifying. Roar. As soon as his voice fell, everyone's heart burst, and they subconsciously looked at Luya who was bitten, and saw that Luya no longer screamed in pain, but violent veins, his face full of ferociousness, and his whispered roar. Explosive energy bomb. King raised his brows slightly and glanced at the expressionless Dastasta. His hand was an energy bomb. Boom. An explosion sounded. Luya received a box of lunch before he completed the zombie transformation. This gentleman is a hero, right? Lei Guangyuan. King's 2 energy bombs are both blue light, similar to electric light. They were mistaken for thunder light source. Everyone looked curiously at King, whose appearance was hidden by the peaked cap, and they all wondered about King's identity. Ahem, everyone, now is not the time to pay attention to heroes. The murderer is still at large, which means that the zombie virus may spread. At this time, the shadow of Moore on the wall shook, and he opened the topic to bring the topic back. As long as the murderer is controlled, the zombie virus can be controlled, otherwise once the zombie virus spreads, it will inevitably cause Y City turmoil. King raised his brows and looked straight at Dasta. However, he didn't do anything for the time being. Although there were many signs that the person with the zombie virus was Dasta, he decided to wait for Tongdi to infer the truth in order to avoid wronging good people. The killer was announced after the attack. Mr. Moore, who is the murderer? Everyone finally remembered their dangerous situation, a little commotion, and immediately asked, Moore, impatiently. Moore took out a magnifying glass, actually the shadow of a lollipop, and shook it, and said in a low voice, there is only one truth, the murderer is. It's me. A sudden voice intervened, directly interrupting Tongdi's performance. Huh, Dasta. Everyone looked at Dasta in amazement, and instinctively moved away from him. Dasta glanced at the people with weird faces and smiled miserably. Yes, I was the one who killed my dad, and I was the one who injected my dad with the zombie virus. Moore, can you let me say a few words? Although I knew my murder plan was not perfect, I didn't expect to be seen through it so soon. Dasta's face was lonely. Moore laughed and said, the great philosopher Swarovski Soud once said that the embankment of 1,000 miles collapsed in an ant nest. For our detectives, as long as you leave a little clue, then I can find you along the way. The difference is only in speed. Dasta was silent for a while, and said a little bit, can you tell me, when did you make sure that I was the murderer? When your father mutated into a zombie. So that's the case. Dasta realized and laughed at himself. I was so obvious. He took a deep breath, stared at King, and said solemnly, "Can I know your name? I want to know. Who did I lose to?" "Me." King pointed at himself and laughed blankly. "You made a mistake. It is Moore who inferred that you are the murderer. What does it have to do with me?" "Moore. Oh, stop joking, as long as the people present are not blind, you can all guess that the person pretending to be Moore is the little boy who was next to you before. With the same cap and the same breath, you are father and son." King. Tong di. Everyone. Dasta said quietly. "If I didn't guess wrong, you taught the little boy the fake Moore's reasoning process. From the very beginning, your eyes have been on me. I know, I have already seen through my hidden murderer identity, but, what I did not expect is that you will give this glory to Moore, intending to use Moore's identity to announce the truth of the case, www.mtlnovel.com, but." Quote. He smiled sharply, "You exposed me, and the hatred between us has grown stronger. I will not let you hide behind the scenes as you wish. I just want to expose you on the spot that you let the little boy fake Moore, so that you can also be exposed. In this way, we are fair." The corner of King's mouth twitched. "You have so much imagination. That's right. I guessed that you might be the murderer after I touched the card from Robert, so I took a few more glances at you, but it's true that Tongdi pretends to be Moore. It's none of my business, those reasonings have nothing to do with me. You are mistaken." Seeing that he was seen through, Tongdi awkwardly turned off the light, and the shadow on the wall disappeared immediately. He was carrying a small school bag and a lollipop. He reluctantly came out from behind the pillar and watched the crowd confidently reason. The person who is the truth is King, he wants to cry without tears, the baby feels wronged, but the baby can't tell. Merrick looked at Dastar seriously. "Where did you get the zombie virus?" Dasta lit himself a cigar, took a sip, sprayed the smoke out of his nose, and smiled relaxedly. "This is a side product of my genetic experiment done by my private biological research. Don't worry, there is only one thing, nothing trade to other people." "Who?" Merrick breathed a sigh of relief. Once the infectious zombie virus spreads out, the harm is huge, and there is no room for sloppy. King squinted at the little ghost Big Tongdi and said, "Hey, the case has been solved, let's go. Now the identity of the murderer of Dasta has been exposed, and the police can take over the rest of the matter. They don't need to worry about it. Go back quickly to complete the experimental data collection, so that he can make time for a trip to City Z." "All right." Tongdi curled his lips and agreed to King's proposal. Chapter 91. King was provoked. Tongdi took King into the primary school student research institute. The research institute is about the size of a football field and is full of various technological elements. There are various robot accessories hanging on the wall, many semi-finished robots are placed on the ground, and there is a neat open space. There are several robots of various shapes and various high-tech machines for research. Hey, a little kid can own such advanced research institutes. You are worthy of being the think tank of the Association Tongdi, with a terrifyingly high IQ, a rare child prodigy in 1,000 years. King looked around, feeling full of emotion in his heart. Tongdi actually knew all kinds of advanced knowledge at a young age, and he was even able to independently develop robots. This IQ is no one. I believe many parents will regretfully sigh, children of other families. Hey, who are Tongdi's parents? King squeezed his chin and thought hard about the information about Tongdi, but he found nothing. Oh, so the uncles have already arrived. In the research institute, 4 people had already arrived earlier. However, none of King knew anyone, but 1 or 2 of them looked familiar, as if they had met somewhere. Hey, Tongdi, why are you calling us over? Really, I didn't want to tell us the purpose in advance when inviting us. There was no sincerity at all. Among the 4, 1 wore a red vest with big trousers, a red boxing helmet, red boxing gloves tied on his hands, a gold belt representing the glory of a professional boxer, and his whole body was muscularly stiff and his vest was supported. When he bulged, his face was even more stiff and full of sturdy breath. Oh, it turned out to be the 9th best boxer uncle of the B-class hero. I'm really sorry, because the experiment is confidential, so I didn't tell you the specifics the first time, I hope you understand. Tongdi shook the lollipop in his hand and smiled innocently. Best boxer. King slightly lowered his head to think. In the Heroes Association, there are 2 major hero groups. One is the B-level hero team formed by the trembling tornado sister Hell's Fushui. The Fushui group includes many excellent B-level heroes. The largest hero team in the Heroes Association, all members of the Fushui team are wearing suits except Fushui of Hell. Another hero group is the Vest Army formed by the S-class hero vests. In the Vest Army, all members wear vests uniformly. The vest is their symbol. Moreover, they have another feature, that is, the name of the hero. Definitely will carry the word vest, such as vests, tigers, vests, black holes, etc. The vest boxer in front of me is wearing a vest. The hero name contains the word vest. He is 100% from the Vest Legion. No wonder he doesn't have much fear in speaking to Tong Di. As a result, Tong Di is young and immature. His appearance makes it hard to fear. Secondly, he is backed by the Vest Legion, supported by the Vest, and will never talk to other S-rank heroes in a low voice. Tongdi, what is the purpose of inviting us to your research institute? Can you tell us now? Another hero asked. However, the voice of the hero was very polite, and he obviously respected Tongdi, the S-rank hero. King raised his head to look at the speaker, only to see that the person was thin, with sharp eyes, wearing a snakeskin suit, Snake. The last hero of the A-rank Snake, the snake-shaped trickster. He smiled slightly and finally recognized an acquaintance. He remembered that when Saitama was admitted as a professional hero when he was watching One Punch Man, in his previous life, Snake was responsible for receiving and spreading basic knowledge of professional heroes to Saitama. In other words, after he was reborn, he didn't seem to have encountered A-level heroes, but he almost knew S-level heroes. This made him think that the scarcity of A-level heroes exceeds that of S-level heroes, but he did not expect to encounter A-level heroes here. Class Hero 2. It turns out to be the last Uncle Snake of the A-level hero. Tong Di raised his face and said with a smile, I recently invented an interesting new toy. I hope to collect new toy test data and find that it is insufficient to make up for it in time, so under the thousands of choices, I found excellent uncles to help me complete the test experiment of the new toy. Snake is full of black lines, can you not specifically mention the last? Just say that I am an A-level hero. Among the four, there is an ordinary staff member of the Heroes Association. After listening to Tong Di's request, he respectfully asked, Tong Di, how do you want us to cooperate with your experiment? Tong Di smiled and said, well, there is nothing special to pay attention to. It's just that you try your best to fight my fighting robot. If you can knock down my robot, or you can stop when you are exhausted. Just knock down your fighting robot. The vest boxer bumped his gloves with his hands, and said relaxedly, it's a piece of cake. As he said, he squinted to the last one who stood aside and didn't speak. A hero, contemptuously said, what do you think, Quick Boxer? Hey, hee hee. Quick Boxer wore a white tights, showing his strong tendon to the fullest. On the chest of his tights, a big fist was written in a row, indicating his attack method fist. It happens to be similar to the attacking method of the Vest Boxer, www.mtlnovel.com. No wonder the Vest Boxer is provoked by the Vest Boxer, but the Vest Boxer is a B-level hero, and he is only the 331st C-level hero, and his strength is far different. Therefore, facing the provocation of the Vest Boxer, he laughed a few times without responding. Hey, Vest Boxer, don't go too far. Snake frowned as he looked at the provocative Vest Boxer and warned, this is Tong Di's Research Institute. If you want to make trouble here, I believe Tong the Emperor will not mind throwing you out. Hearing this, the Vest Boxer unwillingly put away his owing expression, glanced sideways at Sneak, and muttered, cut, isn't it the last A-level heroes? What's so good about it? Sooner or later I will surpass you. Alright, Tong Di, I'm in a hurry, let's hurry up and experiment. King saw that these people were going to be stunned, he immediately changed the subject. Don't be kidding, he is going to Z City to find Saitama, how can he have time to accompany you in conflict? Okay. Tong Di nodded with a smile, licked the lollipop, and said to the snake people, you guys are here for a while, I'll start my fighting robot, and I'll be back in a while. Said, he carried his little school bag and walked to the area where the robot was placed. Huh, who is this guy? Snake and others finally noticed King at this time, but King covered his appearance with a peaked cap, and they couldn't see it. Hey, who are you? The best boxer glanced at King a few times, and said with a curling mouth, "What kind of cool are you who hide your head and show your tail? There are only a few people in the hero circle. Who doesn't know anyone?" King was taken aback for a moment. I was provoked. Chapter 92. Castrated version. King stared at the best boxer with his gaze hidden under the peaked cap, and the corners of his mouth were slightly hooked. Since he became famous, few people have dared to speak to him in this tone. This is a commendable rise in the courage of the best boxer. Senior, his usual method is to take off his hat to pay tribute. However, just as he was about to open the front of the cap with his hand, Tongdi's immature voice came, "Hey, uncles, I'm ready, come here soon. Let's go, get it back soon, I haven't completed my exercise task today." The best boxer shook his gloves and walked towards Tongdi with an impatient face. King's action of lifting his hat stopped, he laughed dumbly, shook his head, put his hands in his pockets, and followed a few people in a hurry. "Uncles, according to the need to collect experimental data, you have to conduct experiments one by one in a specific order. Uncles who are not on their turn, please wait for a while. During the experiment, I hope that you will do your best to attack so that you can collect more. Thank you for the accurate and useful data." Tongdi briefly introduced the experimental regulations. Experimental sequence. Snake wondered, "Tongdi, what is the specific experimental sequence for everyone?" Tongdi licked the lollipop, pointed at the staff of the association with a smile, and said, "This uncle is the second to conduct the experiment." Then, he pointed to the quick boxer again, "This uncle is the third. One experiment." Then he pointed to the best boxer again, "This uncle is the fourth experimenter." He paused, and pointed to Snake again, "This uncle is ranked fifth experimenter." "I see, it turns out that the order of the experiment is determined according to the rank and strength of the heroes, so to speak." The best boxing pointed at King and sneered, "The first experimenter you didn't announce as him. Ha, the combat effectiveness is unexpected. Even the staff of the association can't match it, it seems to be a weak chicken." King. This is the second time. This is the second time that the best boxer has provoked himself for the second time. Do you want to take off your hat and pay tribute to his courage? King thought tangledly. "No, uncle, you are wrong." Tongdi lightly bit the lollipop, and solemnly said, "In the end, this uncle was ranked sixth, that is, the uncle who performed the experiment last. King, of course the uncle must be at the end, otherwise, he would kill my fighting robot with one punch, and subsequent experiments would be impossible." "What? He is the last?" The boxer in the vest opened his eyes wide, and said in surprise, "Tongdi, what reference did you sort by?" Snake and others were also surprised. If they ranked according to their strength according to their previous guesses, wouldn't it be said that in Tongdi's mind, the strength of the mysterious man in front of them surpassed them? Tongdi solemnly said, "Of course it is ranked by strength." Sure enough. Snake and others shook all over, silently looking at King who was sitting on the sidelines. Who is this person? Can Tongdi think that the strength is the strongest among a few people, and he should also be an A-level hero? After all, although Snake is an A-level hero goalkeeper, his strength is indeed a hard work, worthy of the name. The strength of this mysterious man can surpass Snake. Neck, at least an A-rank hero, or a hero of the pinnacle, an S-rank hero. A-class hero. S-class hero. The best boxer's face was slightly stiff, and he regretted the provocation of King again and again. Guru. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva subconsciously, and looked at King inquiringly, hoping to find out the true identity of King, so that he could deal with it. He is not afraid of each other. After all, he doesn't even respect Tongdi very much. He is full of courage, but in view of the mystery of King, he is a little embarrassed in his heart. Unknown things are the most terrible. Sneak turned his gaze around King and asked Tongdi, then who was the first person to conduct the experiment? Is it number 1? Tongdi smiled and said, the first one is not a human. As soon as the voice fell, he immediately pulled the cover on a rectangular object next to him, revealing the appearance of the rectangular object. Iron cage. Dog. Snake and others were surprised and looked at the iron cage the size of a small house. Inside the iron cage, there was a ferocious wolf dog. After receiving the light, they barked at everyone, grinning and grinning. Tongdi pointed at the vicious wolf dog and said, the first experimenter, the hungry wolf dog. I'm hungry. King was amused, and he dared to abuse the dog blatantly, and was condemned by society for being exposed to caution. Well, the purpose of the first experimenter who chose the dog is to allow everyone to clearly understand the content of the experiment. Everyone carefully watched the battle between the wolf dog and the fighting robot. Tong Di pulled out a remote control from his school bag, and after pressing the red button in it, a click sound was heard in the parking area of the robot. Dong dong. A Gundam-like robot is stepping forward towards everyone. The robot is about 2 meters tall and emits a blue metallic luster. Its mouth is like a leaking net, and its voice is like a sound from a stereo. Its eyes are inlaid with a pair of strange-looking sunglasses. The most striking thing is that it is carved with 2 golden characters, "Fight," on both sides of its chest. Awakening from a fight, "Master, I am honored to serve you." The fighting robot calmly walked to Tong Di and asked Tong Di for instructions. "Go in and lay down the wolf dog inside." Tong Di smiled and directed the fighting robot into the iron cage. He had already set up the program in the central processor of the fighting robot, www.mtlnovel.com. In the face of an attack from the enemy, the fighting robot would basically not fight back, only based on the opponent's attack. The attack method is a tricky way to defuse the opponent's offensive. Is not so much a fighting robot as a sparring robot. Under the command of Tong Di, the fighting robot stepped into the iron cage and fixedly stared at the wolf dog. Wow! The wolf dog saw the fighting robot break into its own domain, coupled with the anger brought by hunger, suddenly barked, and rushed at the fighting robot. Paws stretched forward, mouth open to bite. The fighting robot reported, and immediately reacted relative to each other. The 2 manipulators quickly reached out and grabbed the 2 front paws of the wolf dog, and then snapped back. The wolf dog was thrown out and hit the iron cage. The sore cry of sobs. Roar. The wolf dog was furious and pounced on the fighting robot again, but the result was almost the same. Once again, the fighting robot grabbed the front paw and threw it out. This time, the wolf dog learned well. Instead of simply jumping on it, he circled the fighting robot and ran behind the fighting robot before launching an attack. However, the fighting robot seemed to have seen the wolf dog go around and quickly turned around again. The wolf dog flew away. This is the castrated version. King watched the wolfhound's offensives and was understated by the fighting robots and reacted in advance, and resolved them one by one. He couldn't help but think that the sights and sounds in One Piece were also the actions after seeing the opponents in battle, and then made them respond appropriately to keep yourself in an invincible position. However, nerd glasses require the other person to be in their own sight to be able to function. They cannot cover all the surrounding areas like the color of sight and hearing, which is quite restrictive, so it can only be regarded as a castrated version of the color of sight and hearing. Chapter 93. The nerd's glasses failed. Boom. With the last blow of the fighting robot, the wolfhound collapsed in the corner of the iron cage exhausted, struggling twice, and finally got up again after losing the strength. Tong Di licked the lollipop and shook his fingers triumphantly. "Uncles, what do you think of my new invention?" No matter which direction the wolf dog attacks from, the nerd's glasses can all predict it. The staff of the association lit up. "Master Tong Di, if your experiment is successful, it will be a boon to the heroes. It will be easier to kill monsters in the future, greatly improving the efficiency of the association's killing of monsters." Tong Di said modestly, "It's not that powerful. Besides, Nerdy's glasses is still in the experimental stage. It will take a long time to wait until various defects are corrected." The staff flattered. "Even in the experimental stage, you can see the prospects of nerd glasses. In the future, they will definitely be necessary equipment for the heroes of the association. Master Tong Di can invent significant technology at such a young age, and he will definitely do it in the future. It left a strong mark in the history of human science and technology." "Haha, I'm overwhelmed." Tong Di smiled and said, "But, uncle, now it's your turn to experiment, please get ready." He greeted the fighting robot, and the fighting robot immediately came out of the iron cage and walked to the staff with a click. "I'm ready long ago, and I can start at any time." The staff stared at the cold fighting robot, swallowing hard. "Tong Di, do I need to do my best to attack? And it should not attack me." The best boxer gave a disdainful cut, curled his lips. "Quit if you are afraid, and no one is forcing you to experiment." Ha ha, Master Boxer in the vest is joking, of course I am very happy to assist Master Tongdi in collecting experimental data. The staff gave a guilty laugh. Don't worry, the program I personally set will only diffuse your offensive and will never counterattack. Tongdi promised. The purpose of this experiment is only to collect data. I installed data collection and processing in its head. And the analytical machine, you attack with peace of mind, it will only collect your muscle data and attack data, analyze and process it, and then make the corresponding diffusing action, and will not counterattack you. Understood. The staff sighed lightly, their whole body tensed, and their fists clenched. Let's start. Tongdi looked at the staff and the fighting robot with relish. Aha! The staff yelled and hit the fighting robot with their fists. Phew! The fighting robot suddenly raised its hand, then opened the palm of the manipulator and suddenly grabbed the straight fist of the staff member. The staff shook their fists a few times, and found that the fighting robot was so deadly that they couldn't get it out. They smiled embarrassingly at the weird faces. King's mouth twitched slightly, thinking with a headache that he would encounter such an embarrassing scene later, right? Well, if you have to consume cards and pull out your fists, you can't afford to lose this person. After a while, the fighting robot released its palms, allowing the staff's fists to regain their freedom. Aha! The staff shook their fists, their eyes swept over the fighting robot, their eyes flickered, and a strange cry again, they attacked the fighting robot, and the fists went straight out. Idiot, I actually fall down twice in the same place, and this soft fist is the same as an old lady's massage. What threat can it be? The best boxer looked at the staff with disdain to repeat the last action, already predicting the reaction of the fighting robot. King squinted at the best boxer who, everyone is weak, I am the only strong, and shook his head. The quality of the members of the best legion is generally low, and he deserves the title of the mixed legion. However, what is surprising is that after the staff member's weak fist was punched, he kicked it out vigorously. It turned out that the soft fist was only used to confuse the robot, and all his strength was used on his feet. Ah! King chuckled. The best boxer just said that they are stupid, but it turns out that they are not stupid, but smarter. In this way, the best boxer appears to be stupid. Huh, there will be some useless cleverness. Can this attack hit the robot? Are you kidding? The best boxer gave King angrily, still commenting on the staff with disdain. Boom. As soon as his voice fell, the muffled sound of a fist hitting the iron plate immediately sounded. King and others watched in surprise as the fighting robot blocked the staff's kick with its mechanical feet, but the staff's fist hit the robot's chest. Does this count as a successful attack, and the nerd's glasses are wrong? The best boxer was stunned as he watched the staff attack the fighting robot, his face was ashamed, hey, this fight is too fast. Damn it. He just finished saying that it is impossible for the staff to hit the robot, but the staff immediately hit the robot with a punch. Although it did not cause harm, it hit the robot after all. Tongdi, didn't you say Thudnerd glasses can analyze the opponent's attack mode? How do you explain this scene? The best boxer exasperated. Your new invention is too unreliable, isn't it? Snake frowned. After all, it is a new invention, and it is still in the experimental stage. It is normal for loopholes to appear. King nodded in agreement, which new thing appears that does not require a period of observation and correction. New technology. There are naturally many loopholes, and the occurrence of errors is entirely expected. It's not a loophole. www.mtlnovel.com. Tongdi shook his lollipop a few times, and said with a smile, I forgot to introduce it. In the program I instilled in the fighting robot, it will be based on Thudnerd glasses. The collected data is analyzed and processed to predict the opponent's attack line, and then make a relative response. However, there are two special cases. It will ignore the opponent's attack, will not defend at all, and leave it alone. Quote. Two special circumstances. Snake and others were taken aback, and asked in unison, what is the special situation? Tongdi raised a finger and said, the first special situation is that the opponent's muscle density is too high and the shaking frequency is too fast, which causes Thudnerd glasses to be unable to recognize and judge the opponent's punch line. Well, let's just keep it simple. In other words, if the opponent is too strong, the nerd glasses may not work properly. Of course, this situation is limited to the point where the opponent is super strong. Remember, it is the super strong opponent that will cause the function of the nerd glasses to fail. Quote. Snake and others asked curiously. What kind of power can make the nerd glasses go wrong? I don't know. Tong Di shook his head. According to my estimation, S-rank heroes such as superalloy black light can also be predicted to punch lines. Therefore, I don't know how strong it will lead to honored. Nerdy's glasses failed. As he said, he paused, glanced at the quiet king, and grinned. Perhaps, as long as it is as strong as king, it may cause the nerd's glasses to fail. King. Is that the strongest man on the surface? Snake and others lost their minds for a while. The name king is really awe-inspiring and admired. So, what about the second special case? Chapter 94. Testing in progress. The second case is that if the attack power is too weak, the nerd glasses will not be able to collect and process data. King thoughtfully, combined with the actions of the staff just now, he has vaguely guessed the second special situation, either too strong or too weak. Sure enough, Tong Di put up two little fingers and shook them, and said, the second situation is that when the opponent is too weak, he will be regarded as a non-threatening attack by the nerd glasses, so that the nerd glasses cannot be used. Normal work, naturally, it is impossible to analyze the opponent's punch line. Snake and others pointed at the staff with weird expressions, that is to say, his attack strength is so low that the robot ignores it, so that the robot does not defend his punch, and finally was accidentally hit in the chest. Tong Di, holding a lollipop, nodded, and said vaguely, well, there is not much wrong. Ah. The staff showed an awkward look on their faces, and said with a dry smile, ha. Ha ha. Usually I am too busy at work and neglected to exercise, so everyone laughed. In the two previous attacks of the staff, the first boxing was directly blocked by the fighting robots, and the second boxing was mainly used for kicking, which caused the punching force to be greatly reduced, and the use of muscles was reduced. The glasses test failed. If the attack is too weak, will the robot ignore it? The corner of King's mouth twitched, and he was thankful that he was no longer in the range of too weak. After all, in the attribute board of the system, his power has surpassed ordinary people, even if it is not as good as a C-rank hero, but he is considered strong among humans. People, if you punch with all your strength, there will never be an embarrassing situation of being ignored. Alright, let Uncle Kue boxing come on. Seeing that the staff seemed unable to provide any useful experimental data, Tong Di directly announced the staff's dismissal and let the C-level hero Quick Boxer debut the test. Tong Di reminded Kue Boxer, Uncle, do your best. Rest assured, I will show my perfect attack posture. Quick Boxer is tight, the white tight-fitting long-sleeved t-shirt is bulged by muscles, and the black trousers are even tighter, highlighting the rigid muscle lines on his body. He said in a deep voice, I'm going to attack. Immediately, his fist struck out quickly, one punch was not closed, and the other punch had already caught up. The punch was extremely fast, and there was a sense of sight of rocket ejection, and it reached the chest of the robot in a flash. However, what is even more surprising is that the mechanical body of the fighting robot retreated slightly, and the two mechanical palms quickly blocked the chest, just to hold the fist of the fast boxer. This is not over yet, the quick boxer is struggling all over his body, one punch is faster than one punch, and in the blink of an eye, countless fists appear in front of King's eyes, and he is hitting the robot like raindrops. However, the quick fighter's attack is powerful, and the fighting robot's defense is even more amazing. The pair of manipulators shuffled their fists in front of their chests, like 1,000 armed guanyin, appearing numerous phantoms. King was stunned. He was just a C-rank hero. Doesn't the speed of his punches need to be so exaggerated? 1 minute later. Hoo. Quick Boxer stopped attacking, with sweat on his forehead, panting and waving his hand. No, I have no strength. Just 1 minute. King twitched at the corner of his mouth. The staying power is too bad. The feeling that you punch so fast is caused by all of your breastfeeding energy. The vest boxer snorted, cut, it turned out to be a silver wax spearhead. It's not very useful. Snake also shook his head. Although this kind of high burst can surprise some relatively weak weird people, it will fall into a disadvantage when it encounters an opponent of comparable strength. Hey, Uncle Boxer in the vest, it's your turn. Tong Di licked his lollipop and looked at everything with interest. Crack. The vest boxer twisted his neck, made a creaking sound of bone friction, solemnly put on his gloves, bumped his fists a few times, and snorted coldly. Sometimes, even if you are predicted to move, I can't stop my explosive attack either. He bounced a few times, moved his whole body muscles and bones, adjusted his own state to the best, and immediately his fist suddenly exerted force, punched out with a heavy blow, with great force, as if it could shake the air away. Pooh! The fighting robot reacted equally dissatisfied, stretched out his palm, and suddenly pressed the heavy punch of the best boxer. However, its mechanical body moved back halfway due to the excessive force of the fist. Hey, I have some skill. King looked at the best boxer with enthusiasm. Compared with the quick boxer who pays attention to the instantaneous punch speed, the best boxer pays more attention to the strength of each punch and every blow, almost full of power. Pooh pooh. The best boxer blasted out a punch and a heavy cannon with all his attention. The fighting robot swiftly blocked all attacks. The fist hit the manipulator's palm with a muffled sound, full of power, and the fighting robot was forced to retreat continuously. Snake stared for a while, then judged. The best boxer lost. Quick boxer breathed a sigh of relief, and Yu read www.uakanshu.com agreed. Yes, every punch he has is full of power. Although it will create a strong power in the short term, it will be weak in the future and unable to fight for a long time. The way of fighting is not advisable. King squinted at the quick boxer. You are a one-minute man. It seems that the endurance of your fighting style is not qualified to evaluate others, right? Oh, Uncle Boxer in the vest, you can stop if you are tired. I have collected enough reference data, you don't have to hold on. Tongdi looked at the sweaty and panting vest boxer, and said with a grin, my fighting robot can eliminate tiger-level weirdos. With the 8 Offenerd glasses, you won't be wronged if you lose it. Can the robot of the tiger-level weirdo alone be defeated? King thought thoughtfully, a little bit worse than the Metal Knight. If I remember correctly, the Metal Knight robot has the power of a ghost-level disaster. Damn it. The vest boxer punched the ground unwillingly, gritted his teeth and stared at the fighting robot, wishing to knock the opponent down with one punch. Unfortunately, he attacked many times and still couldn't knock down the fighting robot. He had no choice but to accept the defeat and exit. It's me next. Snake shook his arms a few times, warmed up, and walked to the fighting robot, screaming, ah yo, and arched his fingers like grilled chicken feet, simulating the attack form of a poisonous snake. A-level hero Snake, please advise. He introduced himself solemnly like a master in ancient times. Tongdi blinked his eyes, the last one. Snake's face turned dark, can you not mention the last? Isn't the last A-level hero not an A-level hero? Okay, please start your competition. Chapter 95, Harmless King. Snake-shaped tricky hands. Snake's hands are like 2 snake heads, and they suddenly point to the joints of the fighting robot. Whether it is a real person or a robot, the joints are always weak points. His attack speed is extremely fast, like a poisonous snake eating people, blinking, seeing his tricky hand hit the robot's joints. Who knows, the robot twists the joints like a god-assisted, abruptly avoiding his attack. It's interesting, take me one more trick. Snake couldn't make a hit, shaking his hands, his 2 arms turned into a soft sword, and clicking on the fighting robot continuously. The attack direction was strange and tricky, like a poisonous snake. However, the fighting robot seemed to have been prepared for a long time, and the manipulator shot off Snake's attacks one by one. Snake raised his brows, his arms seemed to be boneless, and he took advantage of the situation to wrap the arms of the fighting robot like hemp rope, and the cock-shaped hands slammed into the robot's shoulder joints like a chicken pecking at rice. Clang. However, Snake's moves were weird and tricky, but the fighting robot seemed to be a roundworm in his body. It was clear about his moves, and the mechanical palm stretched out and directly stopped his tricky hand. It's an A-level hero. King watched Snake and the fighting robot attack and defend back and forth, his eyes brightened, and he finally saw the fighting power of an A-level hero. Compared with the heavy punch of the vest boxer and the quick punch of the quick boxer, the snake-like tricky hands pay more attention to the weird attack methods. Judging from the scene, Snake's combat effectiveness is obviously better than that of the vest boxer, and it can force the fighting robot to scramble for defense. Boom. After being blocked by another move, Snake flipped back, took a few steps back, and stared at the calm fighting robot, shocked in his heart. The effect of Thenerd glasses, invented by Tong Di is so amazing, it is really true. I can see through my every move, even though the original fighting robot is slightly inferior to me, but it has such a weapon, and the battle has not yet started, I have already lost half of it. How can such a guy beat him? He thought for a while, and took a deep breath. It seems that I can only attack the eyes. As long as the eyes are destroyed, I can be free from the hands and feet, and completely release my combat power. At that time, it is only time to defeat it. Problem. He made up his mind and focused his attention on the eyes of the fighting robot, where nerd glasses were embedded, which is also the secret of the fighting robot's invincibility, and of course the biggest weakness of the fighting robot. However, the fighting robot has nerd glasses. If his attack intention is very obvious, it will obviously be seen through by the robot and resolved. Sneak stared at the motionless fighting robot, thinking quickly in his mind, people have a certain reaction time when facing external things. Robots and technology glasses also have processing time, as long as their attack speed is faster than its reaction time, can definitely knock its eyes out. A group of snakes dance. He narrowed his eyes, his hands shot out like lightning, and a dozen armed shadows swayed in a flash, like a dozen poisonous snakes attacking a fighting robot. However, Snake's plan is very beautiful, but the reality is cruel. I saw that the fighting robot did not react at all when facing his dazzling attack. It seemed to have seen everything and only treated Snake's attack as a clown's performance. Damn it! Snake saw that the fighting robot was unmoved, and was annoyed. His snake-headed hands dispersed the phantoms and directly hit the fighting robot's eyes. Clang! No accident, the fighting robot grabbed the two manipulators in front of his eyes, grabbed Snake's wrist directly, and once again destroyed his attack. Oh, I surrendered. Snake stared at the understatement fighting robot, and smiled bitterly. Tong Di, the nerd glasses you developed are too powerful for martial artists. Naturally restrain as martial artists. For martial artists who rely on moves to eat, nerd glasses can see through their moves, which is simply a nightmare. A robot that is not very powerful can even get a tie with Sneak after installing the nerd glasses. This gadget has greatly improved the combat effectiveness, or. I also asked Tong Di for a pair. Quote. King felt his chin and thought. Hey, the guy who hides his head and reveals his tail, don't be stunned anymore, it's your turn to play. The best boxer folded his chest and said, I want to see how strong you are. Are you eligible to be ranked above us? Tong Di licked the lollipop, his small eyes were shining, and he said with expectation, Uncle, it's your turn to play, yeah, start lightly, my robot can't stand your attack. Snake and several people also stared at King closely. They also wanted to see how strong King was in combat, and they wanted to know which King was. King did not speak, he just came and walked through the scene to assist Tong Di to collect experimental data. There is no need to do his best, he only needs a hard blow, and he will not be ignored by the fighting robots and just perfunctory. In the attribute board of the system, his strength has reached 7 points, surpassing ordinary people. As long as he concentrates and strikes hard, according to the situation of the staff of the association just now, his attacks will never be ignored by the fighting robots. He walked slowly to the tall fighting robot, took a deep breath, and drew his fists to his chest, posing an awkward boxer's usual attack posture. Haha, this boxing action can't be an amateur anymore, is he here to be funny? As a former boxing professional, the best boxer can see through the jerky of the King's boxing action at a glance, and it is not an exaggeration to describe King as, don't know boxing at all. King ignored him, his eyes were fixed on the fighting robot, his fist was squeezed suddenly, and his whole strength was concentrated on his right arm. Tong Di kept looking at www.mtlnovel.com. There was a bit of excitement on his small face. One was happy to see the king fighting with his own eyes, and the other was happy to be able to collect the king's attack data. The emperor punches. King gathered his strength for a while, clenched his right fist tightly, pulled back, and then slammed out again, hitting the fighting robot's chest. This kind of strength is at best a strong blow, right? This kind of attack will be ignored, right? Snake and others frowned, and felt that the strength from King's fist was very small, comparable to that of a child. This level of attack strength was set according to the lower limit of nerd glasses, and would definitely be regarded as non-threatening. Tong Di looked at King's punch, his little face was confused, what a normal punch. Is this an attack from King? Who? King's fist suddenly hit the fighting robot's chest under the eyes of Snake and the others. During the impact of his fist, the fighting robot did not react at all. Is being ignored by. He saw that his fist was about to hit the fighting robot's chest. The fighting robot still had no intention of defensively. He stopped his fist immediately, and the whole person became stiff and very embarrassed. Fighting robots will choose to ignore only in two situations. One is that the opponent is too strong, and the other is that the opponent is too weak. King obviously does not belong to the type of too strong. Then the reason why the fighting robot ignores him can only be determined by the attack of the king. No threat. My attack is harmless. King stared at the motionless, innocent fighting robot, his fists froze in midair. His attack was considered harmless, and even the ordinary staff of the association could not compare with a dog. This is so special. It's so embarrassing. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel Chapter 96. I'm very upset. Quiet. Silence. Death silence. The few people present stared blankly at King, who kept his punching position. Calm. Keep calm. King took a deep breath and slowly retracted his posture. He was puzzled. His strength should surpass the staff of the association, and the punch should surpass the staff's attack. Why would the fighting robot fail to respond? Is the fighting robot broken? He glanced at the fighting robot suspiciously. Sneak and several people also have the same suspicion. Even a dog can make a fighting robot react. In theory, a normal human punch will definitely be within the detection range of nerd glasses. The fighting robot should respond. Perhaps only broken will cause the fighting robot to be indifferent when facing King's punch. Wong. At this time, the wolf dog in the iron cage finally recovered its strength after a period of rest, taking advantage of the iron cage's door to be unlocked, rushed out from inside, and rushed to fight the robot. Tongdi's eyes lit up and he commanded loudly, "Fight, report the next attack route of the wolf dog." Receive. After the fighting robot answered coldly, the mechanical eyes flashed slightly and coldly said, "The target is about to take off and attack my breastplate." As soon as its synthetic electronic sound fell, the wolf dog seemed to have a sharp heart, kicked on all fours, barked, and jumped up, showing its sharp claws and drew towards the chest of the fighting robot. Kai. The fighting robot seemed to see through everything. After a little bit of its body, the wolf dog missed in front of it and rushed to the ground. The target is about to turn around and jump, open his mouth and bite my leg. The fighting robot reported coldly. Sure enough, after the wolf dog landed, he unwillingly rushed to the fighting robot again, aiming at the fighting robot's calf. Quote. What happened in front of us showed that the fighting robot was not broken, and the nerd glasses were also working normally. Then the king's punch attack did not cause the fighting robot to react. There are only two explanations. One is that the king's punch was too strong and exceeded the upper limit of the detection of nerd glasses. The second is that king's punch is too weak, and it is lower than the lower limit of detection of nerd glasses, which is regarded as a non-threatening attack. King's heart collapsed. His family knows that his punch did not cause a reaction from the fighting robot. It was definitely not because it was too strong, it was definitely too weak. System, you come out to me, explain my current situation, did you make a mistake? Ming Ming's attribute board clearly shows that his power has 7 points. His power is definitely more than that of the staff of the association. Why can't it cause the fighting robot to react? This is unreasonable. Ding! No loopholes have been found in the system, and all data is normal. The system quickly responded, indicating that everything is normal. King is confused now, the fighting robot has no running errors, and the system has no running errors. Could it be that I made a mistake myself? Could it be said that the power of my punch really exceeded the detection limit of nerd glasses? No, whether it's the dazzling 7-point strength on the system's attribute board, or the soft muscles on my body, wait a minute, right, why am I still soft? Shouldn't I be a muscular man with 7 points of strength? He was startled slightly, and hurriedly asked the system, "Hey, system, did you forget to change my body?" The system said coldly, "Ding, this system is not a biological hormone, and does not come with the function of modifying the host's body functions." King was stunned. If I don't change the function of my body, how does my strength increase? Ding, please refer to Mecha. Mecha. King was dumbfounded. I became stronger because the system gave me an invisible mech. In addition, the so-called card possession is actually based on the same principle as mechas. I just boarded various weird mechas to fight. My body's power, the correct attributes such as defense are nothing more than improving the invisible mecha around me. It has nothing to do with my own body. In other words, in fact, I am still the dead body of King, and my real strength is a weak chicken. This fact, it's so cruel. At the same time, this strength. The corner of Sneak's mouth twitched. Is this someone who is stronger than me? Does the weak punch hide the strength or the real level? Quick Boxer is also surprised. This person is a joke that Tongdi made with us. How can this strength surpass us? Tongdi narrowed his eyes, and he was indeed king. The power of an ordinary punch exceeded the detection limit of nerd glasses. From the outside, the power of that punch is completely invisible, if not. Knowing that the person is king would not make people value this soft punch at all. How to describe this kind of plain and unremarkable realm mixed with monstrous power? Returning to nature, yes, King's realm has reached the point of returning to nature. There is power in the ordinary, what a terrifying uncle. The best boxer froze for a moment, and then burst into laughter, ha ha ha, no response. I thought it was a powerful hero, it turned out to be a bear. Oh no, bears are not so weak, even a dog can do it. Let the robot feel threatened, but he didn't, he is not as good as a dog. Snake, who was the last A-level hero, was already very upset. He didn't expect an unknown, unobtrusive guy to come and press him again. If that guy's strength is very strong. That's all, he didn't expect the weakness to be so ridiculous, so he was not happy, and it was an insult to him to let such a guy crush him. Tongdi frowned, and said lightly, Uncle Boxer in the vest, you are wrong. In front of this uncle, maybe we are not as good as a dog. The vest boxer was startled and sneered. Tongdi, you can really be joking. I admit that there are many people stronger than us in the world, but who has the strength to treat me as a cat or a dog? If you only count himself, www.mtlnovel.com, there are so many people who can kill him in seconds, but if you count Tongdi, an S-rank hero, who can say that you can kill them in seconds? Tongdi licked the lollipop and glanced at King, his face solemnly said, yes. Uncle King is too strong. A normal punch exceeds the detection range of nerd glasses. The strength is far superior to other S-rank heroes such as Super Alloy Black Light. Have. Snake looked at the determined Tongdi, his heart moved slightly, his eyes narrowed, perhaps there is, the one that claims to be the strongest on the surface. Man. Quick Boxer took half of Snake's words in awe. If anyone can think of them as ants, there is probably only that man. Tongdi, there is a limit to jokes, we are adults, we don't have time to listen to your kids' jokes. The vest boxer curled his lips, pointed at King and laughed, moreover, what do you think he has in his body? Mystery. It's constipation. Boom. Before he finished speaking, the people flew upside down like a broken kite and hit the iron cage with a sonorous and crisp sound. Ahem, which attacked me? I killed you. The vest boxer grinned in pain and was full of anger. He was about to stand up to see which hit him without opening his eyes. A figure stood in front of him suddenly, and he suddenly raised his head and saw one. Wearing a white sweater, a black peaked cap, a cold face, 3 hideous scars. His pupils shrank suddenly. Such a look. This aura, the 3 scars. Hey, I seem to have provoked an incredible big man. King. I am very upset now. Chapter 97. Terrible King. When Snake's pupils shrank, and he stared at King who teleported to the vest boxer in shock. What speed was this? Who is he? Is it the Shining Flesh who is known for his speed among the S-class heroes? That's not right, the stinky girly gun of the Shining Flesh will never appear in this outfit. It is absolutely impossible for the person in front of him to be a Shining Flesh, so who is this person in front of him? He has terrifying speed, but a punch attack has never caused a reaction from the fighting robot. According to Tongdi, the nerd glasses will only fail when it is too strong or too weak. He thought this mysterious guy was too weak. It will cause the fighting robot to fail to respond, but judging from the horrible speed just now, this guy is absolutely terrifying. How could nerd glasses ignore his attack? Or did this person conceal his strength and deliberately hit a soft punch, causing the nerd glasses to fail? What a fast speed. Kuai Sha stared at King's back with dumbfounded eyes. Is this man a ghost? Oh, it's not good. Uncle King is angry. Tong Di's heart stunned, with an anxious look on his small face. Although the best boxer is very annoying, he is also a member of the association's working hero anyway, and he is also the person he invited. If he died in his own research, so, it will be very troublesome. 3 scars, the robot didn't respond to the fight. It's definitely the man. It's awful. I even scolded him for being inferior to a dog. I have provoked a terrible person. I'm dead. The best boxer stared in horror. His face was full of fear. His body shrank subconsciously and leaned against the iron cage, and even squeezed his **** on the iron cage, as if he was about to squeeze the iron cage to escape. King looked down at the best boxer blankly, cursing the system in his heart, cheating, adding strength and defense and other attributes, which is equivalent to equipping a layer of invisible armor, and his physical condition has not changed. That is to say, I am from beginning to end. It's all that dead otaku. Damn it. Crazed in his heart, he raised his feet and kicked the frightened best boxer into the air. His fists hit the best boxer like machine guns. In an instant, he hit hundreds of punches on the best boxer completely. The best boxer serves as a venting bag for boxing practice. Do you want to save people? Snake saw that the best boxer was beaten so miserably, even if he knew that the best boxer deserved it, but as a hero, how could he watch a life die in front of him? Let's talk about colleagues, and they should also help if they are reasonable. He took a deep breath, drew a semicircle staggered under his feet, and squeezed his hands into a snake head shape in the starting position before attacking. Well, it seems that the opponent is very strong, we have to be careful. Quick Boxer looked at King dignifiedly, his body stood upright and his muscles were tight. As a hero, he would never watch an innocent person lose his life, even if that innocent person is the one he hates. Let him go, otherwise don't blame us for being impolite. Snake and Quick Boxer looked at King coldly, their muscles tense, ready to attack at any time. Tong Di was also shocked. Uncle King, he is merciful, no matter how annoying he is also a hero of the association. If you kill him, it will be very troublesome. Please spare his life. King. Snake and Quick Boxer went stiff, the serious expressions on their faces instantly solidified. This mysterious guy King. They were full of disbelief, but after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Perhaps only a punch from King could cause the nerd's glasses to fail. Before, they thought that King deliberately pulled back his strength and caused the fighting robot to fail to respond, but there is no reason for King to do this to improve his reputation. Stop making trouble. Does King, who is known as the strongest man, still need to improve his reputation? King deliberately teased everyone. Oh, the strongest man on the surface would not have such a bad taste. Guru. The two of them swallowed together. They wanted to shoot King just now. What a ridiculous idea. Now that I think about it, it's really lingering. If they just shot, they would be blown to the head by King. What's more frightening is that the power of King's punch exceeds the detection limit of nerd glasses. Tong Di said before that even if it is a superalloy black light attack, nerd glasses can detect his attack route. Ah, that is to say, the strength of King is at least a lot more powerful than the superalloy black light that is also an S-rank hero. He is really a terrible man. Is that the man? The staff of the association stared, and took a breath. That man, the idol of men, the object of women, that strong and terrible man. Huh. King paused, looked at Snake and Quick Boxer sideways, and asked quietly, "You want to shoot at me?" Snake and Quick Boxer seemed to be pinched around their necks, their faces blushing. What an international joke, how could they have the guts to attack King? In desperation, Snake coughed dryly, ahem, actually we think that people like best boxers are not worth your hands. We can do it for you. To tell you the truth, I've long wanted to beat this hate. The bastard. Quick Boxer's eyes lit up, and he nodded, yes, Lord King, take a break, let us help you beat this guy. I told you, this **** has been taunting me just now, and I have tolerated him for a long time. I can't wait to interrupt his 2 dog legs. Now I can't bear it. You can rest aside and let me hit him a few times. Yeah, Uncle King, you can calm down, and you can't be angry with this uncle. Tong Dijang pulled King aside, and persuaded him painstakingly. King rolled his eyes secretly unhappily. He was not angry with the boxer in the vest at all, but the asterisk 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 of the chi system. Unfortunately, the system was hiding in his body, and hitting it was equivalent to hitting himself. The vest boxer vented his fire. Of course, he can't beat a vest boxer himself, and he can have such a fast speed, completely relying on the power of the Samsung Weird card, Velociraptor. What is good is that with the Velociraptor monster card, he successfully rose to a level. Name: Wang Feng. English name: King. Level: Level 13. Experience value: 4,137 8,000. Physical strength: 16. Power: 7. Speed: 16. Defense: 38. Lucky value: Hidden attributes, www.mtlnovel.com, cannot be viewed and cannot be changed. Attribute points: 5. Skills: 1. Liquid Jet LV1. Jet liquid out to attack the enemy. 2. Explosive Energy Bomb LV2. Gather the surrounding energy and launch energy bombs like a laser cannon. 3. Strengthened Transformation LV2. Strengthen one's own ability, make the power of one's own skills even higher. 4. Flying LV2. As the messenger of the earth, you can fly freely in the earth. Skill points: 11. Cards: 4-star monster card Desire Judge, 3-star monster card Tyrannosaurus. Special card: No star card X1. Warm reminder: 1. Every attribute of a normal person is 5. Full value is 100. 2. The power of the skill depends on the level and is not affected by the character itself, but the number of times the skill is released is affected by the power attribute. Help! Help! King Crazy! The vest boxer yelled miserably with a blue nose and a swollen face. Whatever you save, you are just begging. Sneak saw that the vest boxer was going to talk crazy again, and he immediately stepped forward, interrupting the vest boxer for a while. Beat him. Quick boxer rushed into the battle group and beat the vest boxer. Don't fight. The vest boxer screamed again and again, like a pig. King looked at Snake and the quick boxer coldly. He was not a fool. How could he not see the purpose of the two? It is a fake to help him beat people. It is true to protect the boxer with the help of beaters, but he did not want to kill. Heart, so I don't bother to care about their careful thinking. Chapter 98. G strikes. A high-energy reaction is found ahead. Just as Snake and the quick boxer were happily punching the vest boxer, a cold mechanical sound suddenly came, and immediately there was a muffled explosion on the walls of the elementary school Student Research Institute. Boom! The wall crashed down, shaking up a cloud of dust. Warning! Warning! Finding an enemy attack! Finding an enemy attack! The protection system of the elementary school Student Research Institute immediately sounded an alarm. Within a short time, a beeping beep sounded in the research institute. At the same time, the eyes of the robots who had stayed quietly in the robot area were lit up, and their paces turned to be blown up in unison. Walls. Click. Their mechanical bodies made an engine-like sound, twisted their hands and feet a few times, and then quickly stepped forward, rushing to the destroyed wall for the first time to protect the safety of the institute. Who is it? Snake and Quick Boxer, who were beating the vest boxer copingly, were taken aback by the sudden explosion and stared blankly at the smoke-filled wall. Hey, Tong Di, do you have any enemies? King looked astonished. Tong Di's primary school Student Research Institute was actually blasted. Which culprit was the one who ate the guts of the bear? Listen to the sound, it should be a robot. Tong Di stared solemnly at the wall covered by dust. Robot, then who sent this robot over? After all, robots are different from weirdos. There must be a maker behind every robot. Who is the maker of the robot that attacked the primary school Student Research Institute? Is it a doctor? Robot. King nodded in agreement. The voice of the cold machine was very similar to the system rooted in his brain. It was indeed a robot. The dust slowly dissipated, and the field of vision gradually became clear. The wall was blasted through a hole. However, no robot was found, and no robot-related sounds were heard again, as if the robot had never appeared before. Where is the person? Just one shot and left. Just a simple provocation. King and others are puzzled. Boom. However, just as everyone was wondering, a tall figure suddenly appeared on the wall, like a moving truck, which directly smashed the wall of the elementary school Student Research Institute. Dust rose again under the wall, but this time there was a looming tall figure in the dust. Figure. Beep. Find the goal. DD. Confirm the goal. The icy electronic synthesis sound was heard again in the dust. Tong Di, I really came here for you. King glanced sideways at Tong Di with his small eyebrows, and laughed secretly. Tong Di has enemies too. There is a good show here. Click. The tall figure stepped out of the dust, the sound of mechanical joints rubbing constantly, giving people an oppressive aura. It really is a robot driven by artificial intelligence. As the tall figure walks out of the dust, it finally reveals its true face. The robot is nearly 3 meters high. The mecha head has only one electronic eye, and the rest is all wrapped in metal, such as wearing an ancient combat helmet. At the same time, it is made of pitch black metal. It seems to be wearing an ancient armor, with rigid lines, cold modeling and perfect proportions. It is like a fierce gorilla, and like the mighty Gundam in the movie. The most coquettish thing is that it actually carries a big broadsword on its back. Wearing a fur cloak, he is like a noble general. The intruder will stop, otherwise it won't matter if you are killed. The fighting robot led several other robots to intercept in front of the robot. Those who block, kill without mercy. However, Gundam was more direct, his gaze glanced between the fighting robots of the same kind, and he slammed the 2-meter-long broadsword behind him and swept forward, sweeping across the army. Click click. Surprisingly, under the sword of the Gundam robot, he was stunned to chop the fighting robot and other elementary school robots in two. Snake and the others were dumbfounded. Is this the robot that abused them just now? Was it done like cutting melons and vegetables? Oops, because the fighting robots are equipped with nerd glasses and I modified the settings, they will only respond based on the results predicted by the nerd glasses. If the nerd glasses fails, they will also ignore the enemy's attack. Tong Di bitterly said, the working principle of the nerd glasses is to predict the opponent's attack route based on the opponent's muscle activity, but now they are facing robots. Robots don't have muscles, so in the face of a robot's attack, the nerd glasses completely fail, causing the fighting robots to also turn into wood that can't attack, allowing the opponent to chop them into two pieces at every turn. Oh, I got it. Snake and the others suddenly realized that they were relieved. They thought that the fighting robot was chopped into two with one sword just now because the Gundam robot in front of them was far more powerful than the fighting robots, www.mtlnovel.com, in their hearts. It was going up and down, and now after Tong Di's explanation, they realized that it was the fighting robots that they met the nemesis. This is also a restriction. King thoughtfully, the nerd glasses suddenly looked very powerful, but now it seems that there are still many unsatisfactory places, and many changes and improvements must be made to come in handy. With a bitter face, Tong Di asked King for help. Uncle King, judging from the robot's attack just now, its strength is very strong. At least it has the strength of a ghost-level disaster weirdo. Uncle Snake may not be able to cope with it, you help solve that robot. King curled his lips, I don't want to interfere with your trouble. I rely on ghost-level disaster-level robots. If I want to clean up, I need at least a 3-star weird card possessed, and now I still possess a Samsung weird card, Velociraptor, but who knows the specific strength of that robot? What if you can't beat it yourself? Besides, Tong Di is an S-rank hero, and his combat power must not be underestimated. There should be no problem with a robot that can deal with a ghost-level disaster, where he needs to be strong. Click. After the Gundam robot had solved the guarding robots that were in the way, it raised its feet and crossed them, walked not far from King and others, and looked at each other. It raised its big broadsword and aimed at King, coldly. Said, my name is G1. It is a combat robot created by the organization. You are the strongest hero. King. Huh. Organization. It's for me. King looked dazed. Hey, are you wrong? How could a dead otaku like me have an enemy? King, I'm here to get rid of you. Chapter 99. Pig opponents and pig teammates. Hey, are you too arrogant? Do you know who you are facing? He is the strongest man on the surface, King. Snake watched G1 arrogantly open his mouth just to get rid of the king, who is recognized as the strongest man, and ignored them at all. It simply didn't put them in his eyes. It's really damning. A guy who can only be silly. The best boxer slowly stood up, rubbed the bruises on his body, and looked at G1 with disdain. Come on, let this uncle teach you what fighting is. Quick Boxer clenched his fists and said with a serious face, "Don't underestimate us, our strength may not be strong, but we are definitely not weak." The staff of the association looked at the three high-spirited ABC heroes and listened to their passionate battle declarations. He only felt that his whole body was boiling with enthusiasm and exploded. With red eyes, he clenched his fists and yelled at G1, "The guy who doesn't know the heights and the earth dared to challenge the strongest man. King, huh, I think your master wants to scrap you, but can't bear to demolish himself by himself. The child created, that's why I sent you over to challenge the king, just to let the king destroy you as a waste. Enlighten." The four snake roared passionately and rushed to G1 desperately. "It's so burning. I actually made them provoke an urge to fight." King looked at Snake and the others who were going forward, his eyes burst out with an eager spark, and there was an inexplicable impulse to fight with them in his heart. "You are not the target, get out of the way from the blocker." G1's one-eyed turned slightly, and a cold voice came from its body, and immediately rushed towards Snake and the others with its body movement. Bang bang bang. The sound of a sharp blow suddenly floated in the institute. Bump bump. The sound of crashing without muddy water followed. Ah. Good, so strong. Not an opponent at all. Pretend to be dead, you should be able to escape. The four of Sneak were directly hit by G1 with 3 punches and 2 feet, and hit the walls, iron cages and other objects. They were in pain as if they fell apart, and they were unable to stand up and continue fighting. The strength of G1 can be seen from this, which is really a bit scary. Hey, don't solve the battle so easily. What should I do? King looked at Snake and the others in all directions, sighing in his heart. As expected, he was dead fast, and he was a second-year high-blooded man. I'd better be a quiet dead otaku. After G1 settled the battle lightly again, the big broadsword in his hand pointed at King, and said coldly, King, this time is the performance test of my battle owl, so let's fight with all my strength. Combat performance test. Tongdi frowned, and lowered his head to think, is he really a doctor? Only a doctor's robot can experiment with its own power so unscrupulously, right? What the hell? It turned out to be a guy who asked me to do an experiment. Tongdi invited me politely. The guy in front of me is a domineering challenge to me. The strongest name is killing people. King took a deep breath, his heart pounding and speeding up. He understood that the person behind the scenes of G1 is not his enemy at all, but is for his strongest name. The purpose is to challenge him to collect G1 combat data, thereby improving G1. This is simply cheating. If he wants to wear the crown, he must bear the weight. He wears the strongest crown, and realizes that this crown is so heavy. Maybe one day it will crush his thin body. He looked at Tongdi, hoping that Tongdi could take action to solve G1. After all, G1 broke into Tongdi's research institute, and when he appeared, he would destroy Tongdi's robots like cutting melons and vegetables. Reason: there is a lot of resentment between Tongdi and G1, it is very possible that Tongdi will solve G1. Which one? Tongdi seemed to feel the look in King's eyes, holding his chest and curling his lips, I don't want to interfere in your troubles. King's face turned dark, this bear kid, cheating. I really want to hold him down and beat his little ass, and educate him about the story of Mulan's going to expedition on behalf of his father. Of course, that was just his wishful thinking. When it comes to fighting, he may not be able to beat Tongdi. His face hidden under the peaked cap is getting ugly. This is over. If Tongdi doesn't help, he can only solve G1 by himself. Is it necessary to spend a 4-star monster card on G1? It's not worth it at all. At this moment, his heartbeat is slowly speeding up because of nervousness, anxiety and other emotions. Tutu, 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 tutu. Since King didn't answer G1's question, the scene fell silent for a while, only an engine-like sound gradually rose, echoing continuously in the research institute. Engine. Is this King's imperial engine? Has King entered a state of combat? I don't have to pretend to be dead now. I have to stare wide-eyed and watch the King's battle. Maybe I can learn some valuable fighting skills. After all, it's hard to see this kind of strong fighting. Snake sat up with difficulty, looking for an object to lean against, staring wide-eyed, staring at King and G1 for an instant, never allowing a single detail to be missed. Hey, King, what do you mean? Do you look down on me when you put on a pose full of flaws? G1's one-eyed stared at King. Yu reading www.uakanshu.com coldly said. You give me serious get up. The battle data I collect is the most useful only if you fight with all your strength. If I kill a king full of flaws, then the collected data is completely useless. King's eyes lit up, as if he had found a way to avoid trouble. He relaxed and made his body more slack, like a decadent person. I should have more vulnerabilities now. You can't collect useful data when you shoot me. Let's go, or change the challenge object to Tong Di. Anyway, it is impossible for me to fight with all my strength to satisfy your wishes. Damn it, King, please be serious. The person I am going to kill is the strongest man who fights with all his strength, not a waste man. The G1 robot was furious, and due to the state of King, it did not attack. Chi, hello, your robots are really single-celled organisms. Did they never think about problems? The boxer in the vest looked at the wrangling G1 and sneered. Everyone knows that whenever the Emperor's engine sounds, it's the king who enters. When you are fighting, don't underestimate the position of King's flaws. This is his strongest fighting stance. It looks flawless, but there are no loopholes at all. No matter which flaw you attack, you will suffer the most terrifying attack from King. This is the strongest man. King. I see. G1 machinery's gaze condensed, and the big broadsword pointed at King. King, get ready to fight. Pooh. King's heart spit out old blood. Is this Nima the pig opponent and the pig teammate playing the double? He took a deep breath, and looked up at the vest boxer coldly. This kid was still itchy not beaten. Chapter 99. King ran away. I won't fight. King thought a little bit in his mind, and suddenly said lightly. Why? G1 made a cold mechanical voice. Are you not good at fighting or dare not to fight? Would the strongest man also fear death? You are so right, I am terrified of death. King complained in his heart, still showing no expression on his face, and said coldly, you challenged me to collect reliable battle data, but I started to catch the train this morning. I didn't eat anything along the way, and now I am hungry again. I am thirsty, tired and sleepy. I can't use my full strength at this moment. In this way, even if you beat me, the battle data collected will be unreliable. So, you don't have to challenge me right now. Anything in any sense. G1's one eye flashed a red light, and he said coldly, King, don't deceive me. I never eat or sleep. How can I not see it affect my fighting state? King's mouth twitched. Brother, you are a robot. There is no problem if you don't eat or drink, sleep or pull, but we ordinary people can't do it. He explained. For me, eating and sleeping is equivalent to replenishing energy. Now I have insufficient energy and my body function is not at its best, just like you don't work well if you lack energy, understand? G1 retracted the big broadsword into the mechanical scabbard behind it. Understood, is that as long as you sleep and eat, you will reach the best fighting state. Yes, as long as I eat and sleep well, I can adjust the state to the best point. King saw that G1 was so upright, and he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although the combat effectiveness of this robot is high, its intelligence seems to be lower. Snake and the others have a weird look. King, who used to punch the weird person in the past, has been so abnormally wrangling with the G1 robot today, and the G1 robot has always believed in King Huyu's lies from the time he entered the door. Putting it all together is simply a violation of peace. Idiot. Porfoy, who has been observing silently behind the scenes, watched the triumphant robot he invented and created being played by King so much that he almost got out of the screen and beat the G1 fat and then pulled it back to the furnace to rebuild it, so as not to be embarrassed. G1, stop talking nonsense, go to war directly, if King doesn't resist, just kill him. Okay, King, I'll wait for you. The G1 robot just agreed to let the King eat, drink, sleep, and then start playing. The central processor immediately sent Beaufoy's instruction. Its one eye flashed red immediately, and the metal armor piece on its chest opened with a swish, and several small rocket launchers protruded from the inside. I'm going, what's the situation? I just started the fight. King is proud to flick G1 over, and which G1 fired several rocket launchers at him without saying a word. His whole body was tight, taking advantage of the Velociraptor card possessed by the body, moving extremely fast, his thoughts changed. The whole person disappeared in place in an instant. Rumbling. After King escaped, the G1 rocket fired directly on the floor, bursting out with roars. Dust was agitated, rocks and mud were splashed, and a big hole appeared in the place where King was standing. Tong Di saw that his research institute was continuously destroyed, his small face was tight, and he looked like a stranger shouldn't come near him. This world is too horrible, even a robot can act. I really believe that this guy will promise to give myself time to eat and sleep. King cursed secretly, his body moved quickly around the institute, his eyes locked tightly on G1's body. He didn't know that the artificial remote control behind the G1 would cause the G1 to have different attitudes before and after. Do you want to escape? Thinking in his mind, with his current speed, it is easy to run away. The question is whether to run. When the king was in trouble, G1 stretched out the manipulator's palm, and the palm opened out to reveal a small hole, and a beam of light gradually condensed. Energy cannon. When the energy was condensed, it pushed its palm to the afterimage left by the king, and two light wave energy cannons were launched instantly. After passing through the air, they slammed on the wall of the institute and broke open again. A big hole. Energy cannon. Energy cannon. Energy cannon. G1 continuously fired energy cannons, hunting down the figure of King all over the world, and there were thunderous noises in the institute. In a short time, the institute became devastated. Hey, why hasn't King shot yet? I'm waiting for the flowers to thank you. Snake looked at the king scurrying around in disappointment, and there was no such scene as they imagined to blast G1 with a ****** punch. Tongdi's face turned blue, and he gritted his teeth and shouted, Uncle King, hurry up and get rid of that robot. If you continue, my research will be over. Really? It doesn't matter, the big deal is to get reimbursement from the association afterwards. King looked at the tattered research institute everywhere, his body could not help but pause, that is, this pause, almost hit by an energy cannon from G1, shocked him with a cold sweat. I said you have a broken copper and iron, are you endless? King saw that G1 was chasing him, and he was immediately annoyed, isn't it just fighting? Who's afraid of whom? He also has a 3-star weird card on his body now, maybe he can't beat G1, but he didn't mediate at all. Problem. The direction in which he ran suddenly changed, from running around the institute to going straight to G1, gathering all his energy on his right fist, www.mtlnovel.com, staring at G1, and let out a low growl. No tiger. Get angry, you treat me as a sick cat. G1 watched the king come straight to him, and suddenly gave up and continued to release the energy cannon. 2 rocket sparks slammed from the bottom of the mechanical foot, and the whole body shot out in an instant, rushing towards the king. If you meet on a narrow road, the brave wins, give me a punch. King stared closely at the movements of G1, squeezed his right fist, and estimated the distance between the two sides. 5 meters. 3 meters. 2 meters. 1 meter. The emperor punches. King exhausted all his strength and struggling to hit an arcing right uppercut. I don't know that G1 seems to have anticipated the attack route of the king's punch. When it was about to enter the attack range of the king, it suddenly stopped its advancement and changed from extreme movement to extreme silence. King watched his fist pass a few centimeters from the front of G1, because of excessive force, he staggered himself. He didn't dare to stay, he kicked his feet, and disappeared in front of the snake group in an instant. Hey, King, where are you going? Tongdi has sharp eyes, and he immediately noticed that King has run away. I'm going to be late, I'll leave it to you to solve it. King got away from G1 cleanly and ran out of the research institute using his own speed advantage and ran to the train station quickly. As for the problems of the research institute in G1, let Tongdi solve it by himself. Anyway, he felt that he couldn't play G1 a bit, and the cost of a 4-star weird card made him feel distressed. Therefore, he finally decided to run away and leave the mess to Tongdi to take care of himself. Well, everyone is happy. Chapter 100. Terrifying. Did not hit. Snake and others didn't notice that King had ran away. Their focus was on the punch that King just slammed. King, who is known as the strongest man, hit the air with a punch, which was beyond their expectation. According to the picture they imagined, it should be King who blasted G1's head with a punch, and ended the battle altogether. What was the expectation that King would punch in the air without touching G1 at all? Uncle King, where are you going? I'm going to be late, let you solve it here. When Tong Di and King had a simple conversation, Snake and the others were surprised to find that King is gone. King is gone. G1 has not been resolved, how can King go? Tong Emperor watched King slip away and run out of sight. He was also dumbfounded, and sighed helplessly, there is no way, Uncle King is too unjust. It seems that G1 can only be taken care of by myself. He stared at the tall G1, put the lollipop in his hand into his mouth, and then touched his little backpack. He immediately heard the sound of mechanical turning, and gradually stretched out the mechanical arms on the backpack. After a while, Tong Di became like a spider supported by 4 mechanical arms in midair. The best boxer complained, King is too much. We left us and ran away. Without the responsibility of the strong, it is not worthy of the honor of the strongest man, at all. Quickboxer looked regretful, unfortunately, I didn't see the official fight between King and G1. He also wanted to understand some fighting skills from King's fighting style, but he didn't expect King to leave everyone behind. The staff of the association saw the success of Tong Di's transformation, and he was slightly relieved. Fortunately, Tong Di is still there, otherwise we may suffer. Snake wondered, since King chose to take the shot, why did he choose to stop at the critical moment? A waste of energy, uncomfortable is to play with the other party. Obviously, King can blow the opponent with one punch, but at the last moment, he suddenly released water and punched the air, which was able to spare the G1 robot. The changes in this are surprising, and even guess whether there is any other hidden secrets in it. I even dared to break into my research institute and cause trouble, and it seriously damaged my laboratory. It's damned. Now I will show you the strength I possess as an S-rank hero. Tong Di looked at G1 uncomfortably. Although he guessed that G1 was a doctor's experiment, G1 destroyed his laboratory and slapped him in the face. Even if G1 was really a doctor's subordinate, he would not let go. Over G1. Because, an S-rank hero wants face. Tong Di, let me go first. Snake stopped pretending to be dead, stood up and paced to the opposite side of G1, and confronted G1. Although King stopped leaving at the end, there is one thing that cannot be denied. Yes, we must destroy you. G1. Bring me. Quick Boxer twisted his fist. His fist made a clicking sound. Although I know that I am quite different from it in strength, I am still unwilling to be knocked down by it. It's really shameful. And I. The tank top boxer stood side by side with Snake and Quick Boxer. Are you here too? Kue Quan Sha was slightly dazed. The best boxer snorted, HMPH, even you are weak, how could I be watching the show, and... He glanced at Tong Di and said proudly, I don't want to be protected by a child. Quote. Tong Di looked at G1 with an unhappy expression, hey, you guys don't fight, judging from the strength of G1 just now, you are definitely not its opponents, don't be aggressive, let me take care of it, after all, it breaks it's my laboratory. Of course, my master must enter it well and let it know that he will knock on the door next time he comes in. The staff of the association didn't make a sound from the beginning, his eyes stayed on G1, hey, I said everyone, have you noticed the abnormality of the G1 robot? It hasn't moved for a while. And one-eyed the light in the sky has disappeared, has it stopped working? Stop operation. Tong Di and the others looked at G1 in amazement. At this time, they felt a little strange. They argued for so long. G1 never attacked and stood quietly, as if waiting for them to choose an opponent. This is too inconsistent with G1. Unbelievable arrogant posture. As a scientific and technical personnel, Emperor Tong took a close look at G1, and said unsure, G1 really seems to have stopped working. The best boxer chuckled, let me test it out. He grabbed the wrench on the floor with one hand, the biceps of his right arm was hard, and the wrench was slammed towards G1. Sonorous. Under the gaze of Snake and others, the wrench hit G1's chest accurately, making a harsh metal impact. From beginning to end, G1 didn't react at all. Don't think too much, let me open the way for you and punch quickly. Quick Boxer is simple and direct. He kicked his feet and rushed towards G1 in an instant. His huge fists continued to bombard G1 like a machine gun. Bang bang bang. Dong dong dong. In the blink of an eye, he had punched a dozen punches on G1, and there was a muffled sound. The G1 robot moved backwards as a result of his blow. Finally, he punched with all his strength, and the strong force knocked G1 down. As a scientific researcher, Tongdi is obviously more authoritative about G1's problems. He controlled the 4 robotic arms and walked to G1, took down his body and fumbled for the parts of G1. After a while, he said solemnly, "This is for sure. Yes, the G1 has indeed had a problem, and its central processing unit is broken." Broken. Snake's pupils shrank. "Do you know what caused the G1 CPU to break?" He had vaguely guessed, but he was not sure. Tongdi was serious, as powerful. Powerful force destroyed the central processor of G1. Porfoy carefully stared at the analysis results of G1's shutdown on his computer screen, and the results showed that the G1's central processing unit chip was damaged by a powerful force, causing it to explode. Is it King? He squinted his eyes slightly. www.mtlnovel.com. At the moment when G1 and King were about to come into contact, the screen of his computer suddenly went dark. Unfortunately, no data on King's attack was collected, but this does not hinder his ability to King. According to his assessment, he firmly believes that G1 has been defeated. Judging from the fragmentation of the central processing unit, it is estimated that he was blown to the head by King. The strength of the G-model robot is still too weak, and it must be improved and perfected, otherwise it will not be able to stand alone. Strength. Powerful power. Snake looked shocked. Tongdi, you mean that although King didn't hit G1 with that punch, the punches he brought out destroyed the G1's central processing unit? Maybe. Tongdi is also not so sure. In his career studying robots, sometimes the central processing unit of the robot will explode due to overrunning. If it is normal, he must conclude that the overrunning of the robot itself has caused the chip to explode. However, it involved East King, so that he was puzzled. It was impossible to determine whether the central processing unit of the G1 robot burst on its own or because of King. After all, King, as the strongest man, might indeed have such strength, and King the behavior just now was so weird, and he left with a punch in the air. It seems that King is confident that the G1 robot can no longer pose a threat, so he left with confidence. Hiss. Snake and others took a breath, and when they confronted their completely abused G1, they had no power to fight back at all, and King was solved with just one punch. Is this the strength of the strongest man? King, it's really scary. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.